How are you? Oh, it's right there.
Waiting on me.
Yes, sir. If you'd like to call us to order.
1,800 hours. Let's get this show on the road. Do we need
So
to-
Mayor Pro, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Lisa. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, so we have on the call today, Carly, Aggie and, Scott McClintock, who are going to kick off our presentation today.
Thank you.
Are we ready to get started?
You're ready to roll.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you very much. We're really excited today to have an opportunity to present to you kind of the final step in getting this project fully kicked off. We will have two asks of you tonight as we go through the proposal, and hopefully each of you can see the screen. We should have an agenda for us to get through here today. We intend to talk a little bit about the progress and schedule of the overall project up to this point. Carly will walk us through where we currently sit today. The next part, we want to talk a little bit about the market conditions and the experience that we've had over the last week, putting together the final numbers for the remaining portions of work on the project. And then we want to talk about the guaranteed maximum price that we've arrived at and align that with different options related to the scope of work for your project. And then last, we would request from the council to make a determination tonight, which I believe is part of your later agenda, to allow us to proceed with the project based upon the information that you have an opportunity to review tonight. So with that, if you would like to advance the slide, Carly, we'll talk a little bit about where we are currently.
Good evening. So construction progress update to date, if you haven't had a chance to visit the site, we have paved about 3/4 of your new parking lot. Things are shaping up really nicely in the surrounding areas as well. We have relocated the relocated to the temporary golf shop, which actually the setup turned out very nicely for temporary operations. And we have currently moved into the parking lot, so the phase 2B area that is already under contract to start work. The project currently is on schedule and on budget for the site development portion. The city's been an absolute amazing partner, and the team is just working extremely well together as things advance. As we look ahead, we are working on some preparation or prep work for the potential demolition of the building upon a decision. So we have set up the temporary facilities as discussed. There's some demolition preparation work happening by the city to get all things relocated and anything salvaged that's desired. And we are completed our finalized good faith survey today, which will give us the report we need to proceed with abatement. As mentioned, we've continued the site development work, so that phase 1B area. And we are excited to get started hopefully tomorrow with the abatement, and then move to the new additions, concrete foundations mid-September. And building demolition, an exciting day, I think, would be at the end of the month. We have a couple highlights in here. Hopefully we can have some sort of ceremony. We titled it the building breaking ceremony. And then we're targeting a grand opening in July of 2023. And those would all be true regardless of the choice you make, as long as the choice is to proceed. So with that, I'll turn it back to Scott to dive into the market conditions.
Thank you, Carly. So we've, over the last several weeks, we've been putting together, actually what we've done is we've taken the documents that were put together by Architects West and our design build team. Those were formalized into construction documents that had been put into the city of Liberty Lake for permitting process. And as part of the permitting process and the construction documents, then we took that information and we put it out on the streets in order to get hard bids for roughly 24 different work packages. Those work packages ranged from electrical, mechanical, the wood framing package for the building, so on and so forth. So there were a variety of scopes of work that were included in each of the work packages, but those 24 elements made up the overall scope of work that was included in the construction documents. We solicited 180 local trade partners, which is also could be termed subcontractors, to look at the project and have an opportunity to bid on one of those 24 work packages. And we received 2 or more bids in each of those 24 work packages. So we did get a good turnout. And we're excited about the partners that have bid and are currently the low apparent bidders for their scopes of work. It's a very strong group of individuals, groups of teams and contractors, and we're excited to have them on the team with an approval to proceed on the project. We did have some trade partners out there that were unable to provide a bid on the project, and just wanted to highlight kind of 3 common themes. We made sure we asked, what were the reasons if you didn't have an opportunity to bid on this project? And it's pretty, the 3 that we received were not surprising and very consistent across our industry right now. Lack of available manpower, given the schedule that we have, long lead or limited material availability. This didn't impact us too much because the majority of material and equipment that we have that's required on the project is, we were very cognizant of that in what we put into the building. And then just a lot of current project backlogs. So a lot of our trade partners are really full with the work that they have through 2023. So we were excited to get the participation we did, and we've put that together, we've assembled that, and that's what we've used. All that information, all of those values are what we've used to create the GMP that you'll see tonight. We do put together on the left-hand side a job memorandum, and this basically just highlights, it's about 8 pages. It puts together all of the individual trade partners that we reached out to, whether they chose to bid or were, or what, if they did bid, how did their value come in comparison to some of the other, some of their competition, I guess I would say. So just wanted to highlight that that's something we do and that's part of our process. And with that, Carly, if you'll move forward. So based upon the information we received a week ago, it was a very rapid process to assemble the numbers, get them put together, make sure that that could be reviewed by your legal counsel, and then have an opportunity to present the numbers that hopefully you've had a chance to see leading up to our presentation tonight. We've got 2 different options. The first option, what we're calling option 1, is really, we aligned the scope which is aligning with the approved concept. So all the concepts that you've seen up to this point, as we developed, as we heard your information, as we put it together, that was the basis for the construction documents that were created. That was also the information that was conveyed to our trade partners. Based upon that information, we assembled all that, put it together, and the current GMP that we arrived at is $7,295,000. We understand that that's roughly 4% higher than what we had been targeting up until this point. But some of the market bid value increase averages that we've experienced in the last 6 months that we're trending on projects that are currently bidding that have had budgets established in the last 12 months, we are seeing anywhere from 8 to 12% increases in those bid values when they actually have hard numbers established. The graph that you see on the right side, I just wanted to put something graphically to kind of represent where our project sat. We bid this in September, so end of August or 1st of September. The gray line represents kind of that transition of what we're seeing per month in inflation and escalation above budget values. And we sat about 4%. Our region and our market would see something around 7%. So we trended much better than our market and what we're seeing. But I also wanted to highlight that trend has not slowed down. So in the event that we were to have delayed this out into October, November, December, there is a potential risk to see additional inflation and escalation of somewhere between 4.5% and 7.5% of additional increases in cost. We did better than the market. At the end of the day, that's not what everyone wants to hear, but we are excited that we are bringing you a budget that aligns with the scope that was approved in the concepts that we showed you previously. At the same time, we understand that you have a budget. So we took a lot of time, and collectively as a group between our design build team, the Liberty Lake team, we talked about, okay, well, let's make sure we need to come with a budget or a scope that's aligned with the previously approved budget, which was $6,995,000. So we'll talk a little bit about what we would need to do, or what we are proposing from a scope perspective here a little later in the slides. So we did have to reduce some of the concept scopes of work in order to align with that previous budget. Next slide. So did want to highlight option one just to kind of refresh everyone's visuals on what we were talking about previously, what we actually went out to the market to bid. And what you see here is option one, main level floor plan. As you can see, nothing has changed, nothing's deviated. We still have the elements that we've talked about. We've got the pro shop, we've got our 2 sim bays, we have the flex space with the increased size in the restrooms for both men's and women's, the vestibule area, and then we have that element of the restaurant that will be designed, or is in the process of being designed, but will be handled under a separate contract. We also have the deck area that we've talked about and really designed to. So next slide, Carly. Within the basement level, we, once again, this was kind of that reuse of the existing footprint. So we have really cart storage, pro shop storage. There is some restaurant storage included in this as well. And then you kind of have your back of house, mechanical, electrical, and, fire riser room, kind of back of house spaces that need to be included in order for your building to operate. And then from an exterior perspective, we've really stayed true to the exterior renderings that you've seen previously, as far as having 3 different elements. I'm not going to speak to the architectural nature of this project. Steve and Joey and Architects West have done a great job of doing that previously, and that's not my area of expertise, but just wanted to highlight to you that we've tried to stay true to those core concepts that you've seen. So that was previously the front of the building. And then here's 2 shots, one looking from the south, kind of looking southwest, and then southeast to kind of give you a flavor for that back area of the building itself. So I guess the takeaway before I move on to option 2 is really from an overall functionality and a concept of what you've seen, we aligned, that budget is aligned with the scope that we've presented on previously over the last 4 months. So understanding that we want to make sure that we hear what you've previously talked to us about, which is the budget, and we wanted to make sure that we have a scope and we have a project that still aligns with the budget that we've been giving. There are some concessions that we've taken into account to realign and get back to the budget of $6,995,000. And I wanted to highlight what those elements really would be. And so what you see here is a reduced scope. Impacts are in red. The first is that it's really a function of operations for the golf. The red area to the left on the top, we would be removing all of the asphalt and we would just have a gravel pathway. So the pathway that would take you from the parking lot down and back around to start your first round of golf would be gravel and not have an asphalt surface that's located there. There is a staging area up on top aligned with the parking lot. That would also be gravel. We would change that and not have the asphalt component. We've also restricted the amount of site concrete that you see. So we've scaled back elements and areas where we could reduce the amount of sidewalk and surface area for that. And that would just fall back to grass areas to align with a minimal landscaping element. And then really the big one, functionality wise, is the reduction in the size of the deck. So we would scale that deck back roughly 4 feet. And really that impacts the overall use and experience of that deck area, which is a reduction in occupants of, you would have 96 seats at the option 1, and then we would scale it back about half to 48 seats by reducing the size of that deck to align with the budget element. On the interior of the building, there's some changes as well that we would make. The first being the reduction in all casework areas. So we would have a very minimal allowance to include casework, and that would be mostly impacting the pro shop. The areas in red, I know they're difficult for you to see, but really giving Chris just only kind of a break room area and then a point of sale countertop, and some of the auxiliary areas would all have to be eliminated, as well as eliminating casework down in the cart storage area. So there would be no casework other than a point of sale countertop, the countertops associated with the restrooms, which are required, and then just a break room top located in his break area. The other thing we would do and save for a later date is the separation of the pro shop from the sim bays. So there is a vertical wall with a clear line of separation that includes the doors, the windows, that wall. That would become one big open space and would not be separated one from the other in order to decrease the costs on the project. And then at the exterior, you can see down in it's, we really would have a reduction in the amount of exterior manufactured stone. So the element you're seeing is we would be very isolated in how much stone you see. The change out would be you would have a fiber cement exterior siding condition in most of the areas with a minimal amount of that stone feature. Really, that stone feature would be focused, as you can see in the picture, around the entry to the flex space. The other elements of the project would be fiber cement siding materials. And then a big impact on the last one would be the reduction and removal of the two sim bay equipment. So removing the equipment and not having that be part of this project would be reduced on this project. Carly, next slide. So that was kind of an overall quick description, but what I wanted to let you know is, option 1, as I said, we aligned the scope with the approved scope, and the budget is slightly higher at $7,295,000. Option 2 that I just went through has a reduction in scope, but it has an alignment of the budget at $6,995,000. The thing I want to highlight tonight really is to understand the process we went through. So we've taken these construction documents that have a permit associated with them. We've received contractual bids from trade partners who are willing to do the work in the time frame that we've set forth, and we're establishing a maximum price for this scope of work. So very similar to what you saw with our work package 1, where we came to you with the value to do that work, and that is the value that we have requested, and that is the value that we are building to. We have not increased from that, and we are tracking that right online with the budget. This would be the same condition. We are coming to you today to close out the value of the project and then begin construction. And these are hard numbers that we are contracting to with a maximum price. And with that, with a decision around kind of which direction you would like to go and an approval, the next steps for us would be to really start that abatement and the demolition of the building moving forward, and then really get excited about transitioning and creating this new space that you'll have here over the next 6 to 8 months. Next slide. So that's really kind of, I think it's more trying to open it up for questions. I know you probably have questions, and so I appreciate you allowing me to cruise through and show you kind of what the proposals are tonight. And I would open it up at this point. Maybe Lisa, I don't know if you have some additional information, or Chris, that you'd like to add at this time.
I don't, but perhaps Kyle would like to speak to the 300,000 in option 1 and how we might approach that.
Sure. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Mayor, Council. So in discussing what the potential for this expanded scope looks like, you can see that we've added an additional, $295,000, $300,000 to what council was approving for a scope back in June. And so my recommendation is, if that is the route the council wishes to go, is that we add that as additional down payment and we do not finance that amount. So our financing amount would not change. Our down payment would change from building construction down payment from 1 million to 1.3 million, and not changing our financed amount.
All right, if there's nothing else from staff, we'll go ahead and start the discussion. Thanks for kicking things off, Mayor Pro Tem. I did my welcomes at the symphony and ran back here. So who would like to go first? Councilmember Van Orman.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for Lisa. If we decided to go with option 2, would that have any impact on ADA compliancy?
It would not, in that we have an elevator in the building. However, it would have a pretty substantial impact on operations. And I don't know if, I do not see, oh, Trevor is here. Trevor, can you speak to the impact on operations?
Yeah, so obviously the difference between gravel and cement or asphalt, you all know. But from the maintenance standpoint, our carts, our mowers that are really not designed to drive on gravel roads, we're going to put those at risk for damage. Mowers that we try our best to maintain at the highest standard. They're not your typical commercial size mowers. Gravel that's going to then flow off into grass areas, sidewalk, asphalt that staff is going to have to keep clean. But then you have the risk of also mowing through that gravel and rock. You've got that slope going down there. We currently have a gravel slope going up 9 to the right side of 9 Green that we have to spend a lot of time during season to maintain to keep that smooth. Obviously carts are driving up it gets rutted out. Rainwater, sprinkler water. So it's a constant maintenance task for us to keep that smooth. So not only our maintenance equipment can safely and efficiently get up there, but also our customers and their golf carts and their push carts. So a lot more maintenance is going to be required for the amount of gravel that would be in these areas, especially in particular in the slope going down below 1 tee box down to the fairway. We definitely foresee a lot more maintenance gravel versus a asphalt pathway.
So currently we have that now, is the gravel, correct?
Yes, we have the section to the right of 9 Green is currently gravel. It's not currently in use right now during construction, but it is a gravel path that maintenance staff continuously has to level throughout season.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, this is Chris, the gravel path going down to the first tee, that is one thing that we paved in concrete about 9 years ago, because it was an issue getting the turn to go to the first tee. That's a pretty severe slope there. And so we did have a concrete path, and in this work, we had to take it away just because the putting greens going where that path was. So it had to go away. So we were going the last 8 years or so. We did have a path and concrete area, asphalt area for our cart staging area, and then all the way down past the first tee to get all the way onto the golf course was all paved.
Okay. Next. Councilmember Cargill.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want the record to reflect that our original budget number was not 6.9, it was 6.4. We increased it to 6.9, as was said earlier this summer, and now we're being asked to increase it again. If you add it together, the total increase will be about 14%, not the 4%, but 14% over what we originally said was going to be our baseline budget. I fully understand. I'm not blaming anyone on this call. I fully understand that this is just the nature of what's happening right now, but I do think it's important to point out that this is quite a bit above what we said our budget was going to be. And we still don't know what the driving range costs are going to be as well. Kyle, I was glad to hear that your recommendation is to not finance it, because that was going to be one of my questions. My follow-up question to that is, where do we get this extra money from? Because we've blown through, as you know, quite a few of the dollars that we had, not only in the REIT 1 and 2, but also in our ending balance for the general fund. And of course, the ARPA dollars are all gone now too. So I guess my question is, would it come from the ending balance, the general fund extra that we had, or what are your thoughts?
That would be my recommendation, is to draw down ending fund balance and make that 1.3 all come from general fund and have that be reflected. And if we go back to our capital fund sheet that we had sent out in the packet and back, as we had discussed over the last couple council meetings, you can see how that drawdown would affect it. And we'd be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 5.7 million ending balance 2022 versus, our high level anticipation of right around 6 million.
And so if we have 5.7 ending 2022, what would we have ending 2023? Because this has 5.6. So would that be 300 lower as well?
Correct. Yep. So yeah, that would cascade into 2023 as well. And so you'd be looking based on capital figures, all else being equal, we'd end 2023 with an ending fund balance of, right around 4.4 million.
4.4.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Quick clarification, Kyle. I know you and I had talked a little bit on this. You had mentioned the possibility of using some of the money from the Golf Operations Fund. Is that not an option?
So we'll use that as an accelerated payment for our bond financing.
Instead of taking the 300 out of that to start.
And that's certainly up for discussion. We have an ending balance as of the end of August of, I think it's right around $800,000 in golf operations. And so we have some excess reserves in that fund that we can certainly take a look at. Preliminarily, I had earmarked that as an accelerated payment option for some of this excess revenue we're going to see in that fund as we pay down our bond.
Yeah, I just brought it up because I think it's good for discussion, because if we want the people who are using the facility to pay for the facility, it makes more sense, at least to me, to possibly take that out of the golf operations fund. Just food for thought. All right, next comments. Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll jump in. Thanks for adding that, because I like that idea a whole lot, actually, if we go down that road, using the monies we have already in the account. So just a couple things, and I don't know who can answer, but just fire away. So I'm assuming the top 3 money savers are the asphalt, the sim equipment, and the reduced decking. Is that fair?
Yes, that is correct.
And that's probably, can you give me a percentage of the 300,000? Is it 80% of that?
Yeah. Yes.
So just a couple comments on those. Hearing what's already been said about the gravel and what happens with rain and snow and cart use, it's not going to hold up for any length of time. We'll be back there quickly doing some sort of a hard surface. You're going to have a contractor come and do other asphalt regardless. Is that true? Around the building?
Well, the majority of our asphalt will be completed as part of this 1B scope of work that we're doing. So the remaining asphalt is just isolated to what I've shown you tonight.
Okay. I guess in my mind, if you're going to do the project, do the project. And yes, these 3 bigger items are 80% of this overage, but they're probably the most critical as far as long-term longevity, maintenance, and appearance for the people that want to use it. The sim equipment, I don't remember what the revenue income on that was. Do you remember, Kyle?
For 2 bays, it was going to be 96,000 a year at a very, very conservative estimate.
that just seems crazy that we would take that out of there for a $96,000 return per year. When 80% of this overage is asphalt, the sim equipment and the deck. And then my final comment on the deck is no way am I at all in favor of going from 96 seats to 48, almost half. For me, the whole draw there for people that are non-golfers and would like me and that go there for the cocktails and the view and the food, that's where it's at. It's that outdoor area. The whole idea was to be able to open up the doors from the restaurant or the flex room into the outdoor area. I'd sure hate to see us peel back on that. And that's probably a big chunk of the 300, I'm guessing. The others are just, to me, they're just minor stuff. I mean, some basic trim work and removal of a wall and a couple doors, that can't amount to a whole ton of much. So why would we not do the doors and the separation wall? Why would we not do the simulators? And don't need a lot of trim in the pro shop. I get it, but I don't think we should go. I think we should go with the plus 300,000 and take it out of that, as you said earlier, the golf operations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? We got a couple who haven't spoken, Tom, and then Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate Councilmember Cargill's reminder that we started at 6.4, but ever since I've been on, we've been at 6.9. So I'm gonna continue with the math that was presented to us for this meeting. And I think that staff and all of you, Scott and crew, have done an excellent job of keeping the prices down to 300% less than what the market was bearing. Again, there's no guarantees that that's not going to happen, but to me, everything that you presented to us so far is what's called the cost of doing business. And business during this particular time in our country, in our county, is that there's going to be increased prices due to the three reasons that you gave us to start off with. And I really like don't want to add any more to how much we're going to spend, but I do like the possibility of taking the 300,000 out of the golf operations, provided that that doesn't end up being something that comes back to bite us. The amenities that we're talking about that you have presented to us, to me, gravel versus concrete being a lot of maintenance. I don't think any of us need a primer on that. It would be, and Lisa sort of handed off to you, but that could be an ADA issue, in my opinion, as well. Anybody who was going to be using that area, gravel versus concrete or asphalt, is just not even usable, let alone the increased maintenance. And I also go along with if we were to reduce, almost all of the reductions are reductions that would impact the community's use of the facility, not the golfers' use of the facility. And that was one of the reasons that we added some of those amenities to begin with. So I'm in favor of going with the 7.3 and looking into taking the 300,000, the additional expense out of golf operations. Thank you.
Councilmember Dunn.
I want to agree in category with Bill's assessment regarding the what's been included in option 2, specifically the durable surfaces as opposed to gravel. That for the grade and the location of what we're dealing with, in my opinion, those are really requirements. We'd be back there doing that anyway later. Also, I really appreciate the reminder regarding revenue potential for sim equipment as a component of the project. But that's a substantial part of how we expect to going forward, being able to operate the facility for some level of revenue. And specifically with the deck also, I believe this, echoing Tom's assertion, that is part of the community's benefit. One of the bigger parts, I believe, it's difficult to try and consider removing it from the project for its direct impact to the community. I commend Boughton actually for the recognition of trade partners in the estimate increases of only 4%, recognizing that the Bureau of Labor Statistics for Western Region is charting an 8.3 consumer price index increase for 12 months running. So to be direct, I believe that we've been able to score production or construction bidding, which is actually less than what our consumers are witnessing in total inflation. So great for cost control objectives and working with trade partners for that function. Finally, I also believe that golf course operations is a good source in considering additional revenue to support the addition to the project. So, thanks.
Great, thanks. All right, Councilmembers Kurtz or Spencer? Go ahead, Councilmember Spencer.
Thank you. I also want to show my appreciation for all the work that has gone into this project. It sounds like a logistical nightmare to me. As far as this project in general, I know all of you understand where I am coming from on this. I mentioned it in my interview. I don't agree with going into debt for projects like this or any project if possible. I've also stated that we are in a tricky position because none of us were on the council when we probably should have started stocking away, saving away for this project. I have a couple of concerns. Kyle sent out an email early August discussing general fund ending balances should either be no less than 20% of operating revenues, or another benchmark being a healthy reserve having 3 to 6 months of operating costs. So looking at the ending balance for 2023, if we were to take that 300,000 out, I think that's going to put us pretty close to that 3 to 6 months. Obviously not super close to the 20%. Again, we don't know exactly what we're going to bring in 2023. So I would generally be in favor of taking that 300,000 out of the golf operations if we move forward. And I think that is everything I wanted to say for the time being.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kurtz, anything?
I think pretty much everything that I was interested in saying has been said. I appreciate the idea that we're going to have, well, hopefully have the simulator bay, because I think that was one of the alternate activities for people who are not golfers, and it was also a revenue generator for us. I agree with Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Mayor Pro Tem Foyer regarding the deck space. I think that was one of the hallmarks of what we were trying to do here, and I think it's really important that the community space, that being part of the restaurant and capitalizing on the views and the ambiance of the golf course, are a good thing. As I was thinking about this and the increased cost, share Councilmember Cargill's concern about I am uncomfortable going forward with that. But at the same point, I think that, again, doing something different, I don't know that that's really an option that we want to pursue either, just given the trajectory of the cost increase. To Councilmember Sahlberg's point, we are at a kind of an unfortunate place in doing business, but we do run a golf course, and we do need to replace it. So I'd be in favor of the option to add and take some of that revenue from the golf operations, and then probably take a little pause on some of our projects for a little while.
Anybody else? Everybody's had a chance. Any follow-up? Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilmember Cargill.
Yeah, I just want to speak to a couple things that have been said, including myself. Just for the record, I love golf. I just am terrible at it, so that's why I don't go there often. Second, I was in the meeting when we were talking about what the budget for this project, and numbers were being thrown around $9-12 million for this project. So I feel like for me, it's a good number compared to where that conversation was going. I think we ratcheted it back, and I feel like we're getting a very nice facility for much less than $9 or $12 million, which was on the lips of many council members at the time, several years ago. Back to the building, while I don't really care a whole lot about the pro shop's trim boards or baseboards, can you speak a little more to the removal of the, if we don't do this, the removal of the stone on the front? I'm assuming it's the parking lot side of the building. There's none on the sides. Just trying to understand where the 700 square feet would come from if that was the route we were going to go.
Yeah, so you're really, the rendering that we would want, Carly, is with been part of option 2, sorry. But to speak to like the extent of it, it's really all you would have at that point is what you're seeing in the lower right-hand corner, which is that entry into the flex space. And then on the backside, we could isolate a couple areas where we have some pillars coming off the deck to accent the material there, but really only 2 locations for that material. So
So-
that would be replaced.
So the previous was like a wainscot where it says trailhead and over on the far left.
Correct, around, and then the same occurs on the backside on the wainscot around the deck area. We would remove that and we would go to just a couple of vertical elements by the overhead coiling doors or sectional doors.
Okay.
Just a couple here. Nothing over on the side.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I would echo the 4%, just great. Yeah, great.
Councilmember Cargill.
Thank you. To Councilmember Foyers, I mean, I understand what you're saying about the the 9 to 12 million that we were talking about. But I just want to remind everyone that we broke apart the driving range. And at that time, we were all like, okay, let's not forget that we still have the driving range. This is being broken apart. So if we were to add the driving range back in and all the other stuff that's gone along with this, we're probably going to be in the range of somewhere between 8 to 9 million right now. Again, we don't know what the driving range is going to be. And that's one of my concerns, is that could be a huge outstanding cost that we have no clue about at the moment. Kyle, I just want to ask a few more questions about the golf fund balance. Where all does the golf operations fund, where all does that come from?
So that comes from all of the revenue generated. So you have, greens fees, you have driving range fees, you have season passes.
Right.
Pro shop merchandise. Those are your major revenue generators there.
And does it start off, I remember we had this discussion way back in January and February, and it was a topic of some heated debate. Can you explain why there's a beginning fund balance on those when the golf operations doesn't cover the cost of the building or wasn't going to cover the cost of the building?
That was tricky because what the city did back in 2010 or at some point in the past, they had for, reporting sake and for ease of tracking for employees, they rolled up all the costs of the maintenance of the golf course into the parks budget. And so that way you're not taking time out of an employee's day to punch in, punch out, or, mark down to the half hour if they're on a mower and they're mowing the golf course, and then they're going to hop on a mower and go do streets for a little bit. And so the cost of that was rolled up into the general fund and reported as such. And so and there was some discussion earlier this year about, so if you want to take a true business, you have to isolate all the costs associated with that business. And so it doesn't, reporting, it's not apples to apples from a true private business to a public entity. And so there was some discussion on how that should look by a previous council member. And we can certainly have that discussion. I can show in 2020, 2021, 2022 that the golf course does, generate a profit. To what extent, we can go back and review those numbers if you would like, but we could show, just for an exercise, what that would look like with the added revenue from the simulators, and obviously what the fee structure for the golf course is going to look like next year. That's really going to compound revenues as we go forward.
Sure. I guess my question and what I'm trying to figure out is there money in that account at the beginning of the year? And where does it, is it transferred somewhere into that account?
It is a rollover. And so in the past, the golf courses had some assistance from the general fund in terms of operating costs when revenues weren't able to meet expenditures. And so we've seen a pretty seismic shift in what that looks like on the revenue side, especially since the onset of the pandemic. And so, but yeah,
So a chunk of it does come, or it did come. from the general fund.
Yeah. So yeah, we haven't been in that position to where there is any other transfers from the general fund or any other revenue source or any other fund source to the golf operations.
Thank you.
And for the most part, just for history, that deficit really revolved around the debt that we had. It was about $167,000 a year. So the operations was pretty much paying for itself except for the debt service. And then we paid that off however many years ago now.
Correct. Yep.
Can I jump in on something on that too?
Just, anybody else before Mayor Pro Tem goes again? Councilmember Spencer.
Just real quickly, how soon are we going to have to deal with the driving range? Has that been discussed? I'm just curious as to.
So
how
my
soon
understanding
we're
is
gonna-
we're gonna look at some design and potential construction costs next year.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, thank you. My only comment was, I feel like we did your exercise. Now, with the intent of using the revenues from the golf course, and I forget what the numbers were now. I know we all talked about it at one time, and to pay down, it was all gonna go to the bond.
Correct.
In addition, the revenues from the simulators was gonna go to the bond. So I feel like that number was close to 400.
And so yeah, we're trying to forecast what we think
I understand.
all of this is gonna do. And so our annual payment is gonna be roughly 400,000.
Right.
What we were comfortable, I suppose, putting on paper was something maybe closer to 200,000. Understanding that we're gonna be able to we should be able to outpace that with any other pay down coming from real estate excise tax going forward.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, we do have a section if it needs to be more discussion during workshop. If not, we've got the action item later in the meeting. So it's 6:46. Why don't we take a break until 7 o'clock and we will come back and see you then. Thanks, team. We'll see you back for the action items. All right, everybody, 7 o'clock. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for our Tuesday, September 6th, 2022 City Council meeting. Looks like we've got a lot of visitors tonight, which is great. Council and most of the staff are in person. So thanks, everybody. We're going to start off with the invocation given by Councilmember Spencer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this day in gratitude for all of the blessings that we have received at thy hand. We're thankful for this opportunity that we have to gather together as a community, and as citizens, and we are thankful for the chance that we have to work together and work through our differences and to build a better community. We pray that thou wilt bless us this day, that we may receive thy inspiration, that we can work together and come to conclusions that are favorable for our community, and that we can accomplish thy will. And we ask for these blessings and favors in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Call the meeting to order. So we will start with a quick roll call. Councilmember Cargill,
Present.
Councilmember Kurtz.
Present.
Councilmember Van Orman,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Foliar.
Here.
Councilmember Spencer,
Here.
Councilmember Solberg.
Here.
And Councilmember Dunn.
Happy to be here.
All right, everybody's all accounted and whatever, here and accounted for. So we are on to agenda approval. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Council, I'd like to add an amendment to our agenda for the evening for executive session per RCW 42.30.110I.
30.110. All right,
30.110I.
okay. got it.
second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to add executive session for personnel based on RCW 42.30.110I. Do we have any discussion question? All right, that will be item 19. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0.
Mayor, I'd like to
Agenda's
make an
amended.
motion to approve the amended agenda as just passed.
All right, do we have a second on the
Second.
amended agenda?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Kurtz. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor of approving the amended agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0.
So our Granicus efforts are on pause?
Yeah, Kelsey's on her adventure. So, yeah. Thanks for asking. All right, so we are up to citizen comments. So just a quick tutorial on our citizen comments. For those of you here in chambers, if you'd like to make a citizen comment, we have yellow sheets over on the desk. If you'd like to make a comment, just fill it out and we can get it to Finance Director Kyle over here on the end. And we'll take that. And those of you who are online, if you'd like to make a comment, please send a message to Todd Henderson, our meeting manager, in the chat function. He'll let me know. Comments are comments only, no response from the council, but if there's something we need to follow up on, we'll make sure we have your contact information and we'll follow up with some answers. 3 minutes and you'll see we've got the countdown clock here, and we will go ahead and start with Jenna Jockus. Did I do okay? All right, welcome. We'll make sure your microphone is on there.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
All
can.
right, thank you. So I am speaking in advanced favor of your item 7A, Building Ohana presentation. My name is Jenna Jockus. I'm a landscape architect with SPVV Landscape Architects in town. We worked on your Orchard Park project. I'm also a longtime resident of Otis Orchards. I was raised there, so I've seen Liberty Lake evolve over the decades. And I am so excited about the potential for the Ohana Village to be considered potentially at Liberty Lake. And this sort of village development is so needed. And you'll hear more from Deb and Mari about that, but it meets essential needs that current community development projects aren't meeting nationwide, worldwide. And that, in a nutshell, is the equity of quality of life for all people at all life stages. And so that is one of the missions of Ohana, and I think it's beautiful. And it also, because of that, I believe, will become a model for other developments. And I'm really excited for that, and also excited for the potential of the mutual benefit that Liberty Lake and Ohana would have if it was located here, and the potential gifting relationship that would be developed because of that. So that's
Thank
my
you very
comment.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next we have Mark London.
Hello, I'm Mark London. I am the owner of Dragonfly Productions. We do marketing and for nonprofits to get the values and the voices out to targeted markets. I work with Building Ohana because they enhance community. It's a beautiful enhancement for each community to have such a special place. And so, thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, next we have Seema Thorpe. Welcome.
I'm short. Thank you, Mayor and council members. It's wonderful to be here. I'm Seema Thorpe. I'm the Executive Director of the Arc of Spokane. We serve individuals with developmental disabilities and their families in the Inland Northwest, including right here in Liberty Lake. I'm here to support the Building Ohana proposal that you're going to hear a little bit later. And I just wanted to let you know from an Arc of Spokane perspective that we have been working with the Building Ohana program for years on the design and implementation of this program. We consider ourselves a partner in this project, and we'll be providing services, if we are able to, within the homes of individuals with developmental disabilities, if this comes to fruition here in Liberty Lake. I'd also like to say that this is an innovative, visionary, and doable program. Liberty Lake would be a leader in the area of creating housing opportunities for those who are most vulnerable in our community, individuals with developmental disabilities and their families. And I would hope that other communities would follow your lead if you were to support this project. If there's anything the Arc of Spokane can do to assist, inform, or help, we will be there to walk alongside this project and all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, and we have, okay, I'm Bob. I'm gonna have difficulty with your last name. Thank you, Bob Scarfo.
I'm thrilled to be here. Great to be in front of you folks and to be supporting the Ohana project. I've known Deb now for about 6 years, and for me, this is a dream come true. If it comes to fruition, to be part of this and to pull together the understanding of the various potential residents of the community and as they're integrated within the larger community is just unbelievable. It's been said a couple times already, this project would be almost one of a kind. There are very few around the world. And I've been working, I'm a registered landscape architect. I'm registered in Washington and in Massachusetts. I'm on the Governor's Council for Aging. I'm on the program committee with Area Agency on Aging here in Eastern Washington. And I've been working, I didn't realize this was ever going to happen, but I started in 1974, learning more about how to design for people with physical disabilities. And now it's really become I don't know how to put it, a full bowl, full cup, dealing with folks with intellectual disabilities. And so I've been talking with people around the world, and as it's been said, this really, I hate to say it, it won't be one of a kind or first, but it'll be right near the top. And it really could help a lot of other folks, development communities or communities to bring this into their community for a broader cross-section of the population. So totally in support of this, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I don't think, do we have any more here in chambers with comments? Todd, do you have anything online? Anybody wants to make a comment tonight? Okay, we don't have any online or here in chambers. Just remember, everybody, that you'll have another opportunity near the end of the meeting. So with that, we're going to go right into announcements, proclamations, and special presentations, which is our Building Ohana presentation. So Deb, thanks for coming. I'll let you introduce yourself. I won't steal your thunder, and it looks like we've got the presentation up on the screens.
Well, I really think I could go home now. I know we have 15 minutes to talk about Building Ohana, but I guess I just want to say how gratified I am to hear the comments of the people I've been working with across the table for so long. Really, really something else. I'm just so touched by it all. I want to say good evening again to Mayor Kaminskas. Lisa Key is not here, but I also want to say good evening to her. She's been a great help to us as we've tried to imagine how your community might be a place where Building Ohana could land.
Can you raise your mic up just a little bit? Thank you.
And yeah. And I also want to thank you all, city council members, for giving us 15 minutes of your presentation and meeting. I am Deb Fink, and I live here with my husband, Charlie. There he is right there. And our son, Jonathan Fink, who is a 27-year-old young man with the most remarkable character and curiosity and humor and personality. Is also a young man with profound autism and coexisting conditions that make his life a challenge, and yet he somehow is always interested in being a part of the community around him. I think it's him, Jonathan, that has given us a real sense that community is more important than almost anything else when it comes to supporting individuals through the life course when they are most likely to be isolated or vulnerable in any kind of physical, developmental, emotional, or other kind of way. Jonathan's a real, he's the coolest boy we've ever met. Right, Charlie? So we've lived in Liberty Lake for 35 years and know this community kind of like the back of our hand, although it is always changing. And I know that you have a hand in all of that. One of the ways in which we see it changing is the growth of so many different kinds of housing and community neighborhoods across Liberty Lake. And that gives us all the more reason to be excited that Liberty Lake might be a home for Building Ohana. I'm here as the founding director of this organization. We formed in 2013 as a group of parents, professionals, community members, all of whom had pretty significant intimate knowledge of the ways in which people with intellectual and developmental disabilities face barriers across their lives, and barriers to community and barriers to thriving. And we decided to form a community development, a neighborhood of intentional neighboring, as a response to those barriers, a positive response that looks a lot like that in our hearts. I love that quote from Mark Twain. By the way, I do need to have a little guy to change the slides. Or do I just tell him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I will just lift my finger. But this quote, to get the full value of joy, you must have someone to divide it with. I think we think that all the time as we're working together on this project. So that, like I said, is Building Ohana's reason for being. We aim to design and build a community of intentional neighboring, a village of home where residents of all ages, abilities, backgrounds, and incomes are included and supported within a community of mutual care and belonging. All of that is based on daily relationships, the proximal power of neighbors in your life. Before I forget, as I usually do, I'm going to tell you the meaning of the word Ohana, because at least one of you will tell me why I didn't at the beginning of this presentation. Ohana is the Hawaiian word for family. It's not just those family members that were born with or marry into or adopted into, like my own son who is adopted, Jonathan, at age 1 day, we brought him home into our personal family Ohana. But it's also those people in your life, in your community, in your experience across your lifespan, who without them, you would not be your best self. So when I presented the first time to the ARC of Spokane, somebody on their board reminded me that Lilo and Stitch is all about Ohana. If you have kids, you know about that movie. Well, in that movie, someone said that the people in our Ohana are those people, not just who know us and care about us and believe in us and strengthen us in all kinds of ways, including advocate for us when we need it, but they are also the ones that invite and include us and welcome us into their lives. The ones who make sure, and I quote, we are not left out of all the important things. And that happens to so many people. That is a key premise for building Ohana and the neighborhood that we intend to build. So I know you all have Ohana people in your life, and maybe you could just think real quickly across your lifespan about the most important one. But we're not looking back here in this presentation, we're looking forward to building Ohana. And I want you to know that our goal tonight is to imagine building Ohana in Liberty Lake. So I think that's been said. It was going to be my big statement, but clearly we're here for that very reason, because Liberty Lake is a community of welcoming, and the possibilities for a neighborhood like ours to thrive and therefore be that sort of model of practice in community life across the country and across other countries as well is really quite possible for all of us. Next slide, please. So Ohana Village is a family-friendly village of homes for people of all ages, backgrounds, incomes, and abilities. And I want you to know that before I leave our Ohana family here, we do have a few members present that I'd like to introduce. My friend Jalaid, who is also a board member, is not able to be here, but our board president, Frank Ide, I believe, is online. And some of you know him because he's worked a lot in Liberty Lake. He is a Spokane landscape architect who's worked for 25 years in this community to help put communities on the ground of all kinds, and a planner of that we have not. He's our leader in so many ways regarding land acquisition and the possibilities of building Ohana on the ground. The other person I'd like to introduce is Brenda Ehart, and she is both my friend and mentor. She is the person who developed Hope Meadows. Did you get that book out from the end of my bag? Hope Meadows was a community of intentional neighboring that originated out of the crisis that families and children in Illinois were facing with the drug opioid crisis 25 years ago. Brenda is the person who founded and directed Hope Meadows, which is the subject of a recent book that she's written, and I'll leave here with you, called Intentional Neighboring: The Power of the People Next Door. This book is story about so many people who moved to a community entirely because they wanted the purpose and meaning of being a support and a help to their neighbors in need. And so our model, our structural framework and sort of working principle for building Ohana is based on this book. And I'd love for you to have a copy. If you'd like to, please talk to me about that later. But I'll leave this one here for you. Also on your desk are 3 pieces of paper. One is something, I don't want you to read these. You know, my husband has always told me, he's a wonderful presenter. He's always said, don't ever give people things to read if you want them to listen to you. But the fact is that these 3 things, I hope you'll use as sort of a guide to introduction about Ohana. The large piece of paper is just sort of a brief 1-page summary. The second is a rack card that on the front and back sort of talk about the principles of Ohana community. And the front piece is a little magnet for your refrigerators so that you don't forget us and you can look at us as you go for food every day. I do want, yeah, go ahead. I'm used to having a clicker. I'm sorry about that. I've already told you the definition of the Ohana, but I do want you to know that we have spent a number of years and meetings in planning, community conversations and planning with individuals that whose families and loved ones might live in Ohana, alongside of stakeholders, providers, seniors who come in to support all kinds of individuals that are interested in this model. And what I didn't know, and what I'm really happy to share, is that from the beginning, we could see that people understood what it is that we were talking about in terms of the needs of their own family. This particular woman, part of our Envision group, I've been dreaming of a close-knit neighborhood with mutual support since my son was 11 years old. Imagining a community that engages with him and with our family. Friends next door who don't look away when we're struggling, who care for us, include us, and understand that knowing my son, who cannot speak or walk, enriches their lives. I've drawn this neighborhood 1,000 times in my head. On scrap paper, on napkins, I've imagined these people, Ohana. We have so many comments just like that from our gatherings, community gatherings over the years. Okay, thank you. I've introduced our team, all except a very important person. That is, well, 2 important people. That's my son, Jonathan. I'm in the hat. That's my boy, our boy. And next to that picture is my co-presenting partner, Maria Williams, who is our real estate development director, who's going to talk to you a lot about the place part of our project. And Maria is a developer of long standing in our state. She is co-developer of the project called Grow Community on Bainbridge Island. And that's an award-winning community of connection. She's very familiar with our project and its premises, and has been invaluable to me on a daily basis. Okay, thank you. I just want to mention three things. I don't have long here and I know I've overtalked, but I want to talk to you about three facts that are significant to our project. The first one has to do with housing shortages. That's a complex subject, one you probably deal with all the time. But I bring it up because I want you to know that 70 to 80% of adults with IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities, remain in their family homes with aging parents and caregivers. This is an unsustainable situation, and along with a million other reasons why we don't have homes and welcoming communities to help those people become adults in their years beyond public school and find independence and thriving on their own. My husband and I are in our 70s, so we're a perfect example of that issue. A second point I want to make real quick is that we're dealing with a crisis of care and across all aspects of healthcare but in this case, the fact I want you to think about is that there are 100,000 and now over 200,000 less caregivers for home direct service provision and in institutions of care. This is unsustainable as well. Every time we turn around, someone who is aging, someone with disabilities cannot find someone else to come in and help them with daily life in their homes. Thirdly, maybe a contributing factor to this is our over-reliance on systems of care and support, formal systems of care and support. Systems that were never really intended to replace the kind of natural care that comes from family and friends and neighborhoods and communities. So with those three underlying challenges bolstering up our project, we know that we can make a difference in all three of these areas. I'd like you to watch a short video. Do we? No? Okay. Yeah, they're too busy. No, we won't do that. I have a problem with over talking. So this video is 92 seconds
to the council afterwards.
Pardon me?
We can share the presentation to the council
Yes,
afterwards.
and this video, I'm very disappointed that I can't show it to you, but I do understand. This is about the premise of intentional neighboring, and I would love it if you all would watch it as you get a chance to over the next few days. I'm going to go straight now because so many people said so many wonderful things to Maria, who is going to talk to you about not just purpose and people, but also the place of our neighborhood that will accommodate them. So Maria, please.
So next slide, maybe. Please. And next slide, we'll just skip through a couple of them. There's this site, one with a site plan on it. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. So I know we're running out of time, but I just wanted to give you a visual of the concept that we've been talking about here. The Ohana is a neighborhood that's conceived for a very specific purpose, as Deb mentioned, to support different people through the different life stages. And so it's very important to us that we follow a path of thoughtful and inclusive design for the homes in the neighborhood that follows that purpose. And while we haven't yet finalized our site location for this project, we have been thinking for many years about what this neighborhood might look like. And I think Deb also mentioned in a couple of the commenters that we've been having community conversations with our Ohana community, both people who might live in this community and also people who are interested in this, talking about what it might look like and how we might design homes and the site itself to accommodate the different needs of people who will be there.
very, very briefly just describe this concept. It's based on pocket neighborhoods, which you probably have heard of. If not, it's a concept that was coined by Ross Chapin, an architect in Washington here. And the idea is that there are clusters of 7 to 8 homes, maybe up to 10. You see 4 clusters here. On this particular site plan, we would have about 50 homes in total. Each cluster is designed in such a way that the people who live in that small pocket neighborhood would get to know each other really well as they walk on the paths to their front door, or maybe work in the little community gardens in between the homes. And then each cluster also embraces a home where adults with developmental disabilities might live. You see that in the center in those purple buildings. And then each of the 4 clusters is surrounding a common house, and that's that extended living space where people can, stop by for a cup of coffee and have conversations with their neighbors. Maybe there's planned events like a community potluck and other things throughout the day. So that's a way to increase the social interaction within this neighborhood. Everything here is designed in such a way that it connects people both intentionally and unintentionally as they go about their daily lives. Next slide, and let me know if we need to speed up quite a bit here. The homes in Ohana will be single-family detached homes. We haven't yet designed them, so I'm showing just an example here of what a home might look like in one of these clusters. The homes will be available for sale to anybody who wants to live in this community. We imagine a lot of the families of people who are living there with intellectual and developmental disabilities will be first on the list. And we imagine a lot of seniors or retired people who are interested in living with this purpose that we've defined will be there. And so it's very important to us that the outside of the homes look like any well-designed home. So they appeal to a range of buyers. They'll be very well-built, high quality. But if you look closely, you will see that there's even more careful attention paid to the design of these homes and the neighborhood as a whole as we move forward designing in the way that we've talked about. So the next slide, please. Ohana is unique in that it will be designed for residents of all ages and abilities, as we've talked about. We're imagining people of all the different life stages living here and different types of family structures. So we will take extra care to make sure that everything from the pathways to the building entryways are easily navigable and accessible, not just for people with disabilities, but for everybody through the life course. We are going to be thinking quite a bit as we design this about the people living here that may have heightened sensory experiences, and designing the buildings and the landscaping, especially in a way that feels safe and calming. And we imagine as we do this and pay this level of attention to the design, this will create a community that will be pretty amazing for anybody to live there, and a model, as we've talked about, how this could be done elsewhere. So next slide. It's very, very important to us, like I said, that the homes are carefully and purposefully designed, that they're beautiful as well as comfortable for all people, and that they will hold their value over time. Our hope and our intention is that this type of home and neighborhood is one that any of us in this community will feel proud to be a part of. And one more slide. And this gets to why we're here today. Ohana has been working for years to identify the right location to build this community. The land needs to meet certain physical requirements for accessibility as flat as possible. So that's always a challenge with a certain acreage to support 50 homes, and ideally be located very near urban amenities. And another factor is, of course, the zoning that supports the concept that we've talked about, which requires a little bit of flexibility in site planning. Over the last year or so, we've been looking around Liberty Lake and seen a lot of opportunities and talking with people here. And we feel like this is a place that is safe and welcoming, that values family, service, and community. And that's very important as it's consistent with the values of our project. So after considering the various jurisdictions in and around Spokane, we are very much focused on Liberty Lake, where we're hoping to find a piece of land that meets our needs and move forward with designing the community here. We know this community has a sense of pride and identity. There's excellent schools and trails and parks and all those things that support a healthy and engaged way of life. So we're looking forward to moving ahead with this. And Deb, I think you had a couple more things to say if we have a little bit more time, we can end there. Thank you very much. So
I do want to say, there is one more slide that I'd like you to change to, please. These are the things that Maria just spoke about that really, make Liberty Lake important to Ohana. But I want to name a few things real quickly that might make Ohana important to Liberty Lake. Some of the folks that have spoken already have already talked about the benefits to Liberty Lake of a innovative and new kind of community. The attention and the respect and the replication that might bring. But there are some other things that I want you to go away with. First, we will bring a safe and family-oriented neighborhood with broadly affordable homes to Liberty Lake. Secondly, we will bring the opportunity for all residents in Liberty Lake to know and engage with people with developmental disabilities as lifelong contributing residents of this community, because Ohana will be a community for the life course. And finally, we are a nonprofit, and as you can see already, we bring with us new programs, new ideas, and new partnerships to Liberty Lake that can really transform the landscape in terms of behavioral, residential supports, direct service provision for people in our neighborhood and beyond in Liberty Lake. So with that, I will leave you, letting you know that we do have in the end of September plans for very active community engaged process of design that will bring all kinds of folks, including the folks we have here today and residents that might be interested in living in Liberty Lake. You should know that we have raised over $1 million in donations. We have hundreds of people on our resident interest list. And in the last few years, over 1,000 people writing to us, calling us, and signing up on our website for the very reason that we're talking about today. And that is that they want to be a part of a community like Building Ohana. Thank you, and I'm sorry for.
No, it's okay. I want to see if there's any questions or comments. Councilmember Cargill.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just want to say as the father of a special needs son who's 15, this is a discussion that we're having right now is what's going to happen to him once he turns 18, 19, 20. So I just want to let you know that I will help you in any way I possibly can. I did have one question, and I think you kind of answered it in that last comment. How do people, if they're interested in getting involved or interested in actually getting a residence there, I'm talking about specifically the folks who are special needs or who have situations where they need help. How do you go about getting them on the list?
I hope you'll all take a look at our website, and some of the most interesting pieces of our website involve that very thing, how it is that we are drawing people into our community. And that is a section that is not the people, purpose, place part, but the connect with us part. There are lots of different ways to get connected. One of them is to sign up for that resident interest list and also to sign up for our community engaged design process. So there are lots of levels and lots of ways to get involved, and it's all on those pages in the website.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Councilmember Dunn.
How do you do?
Deborah, I just wanted to thank you for your presentation. What really resonated with me was the creating opportunities for the members of the community to contribute in service. Specifically to give their time and talent to the well-being of others. And so that's something that I think there's a shortage of and our community would welcome. So I'm grateful.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments.
Anybody else? Thank you so much, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
coming. Thanks for the presentation.
Thanks a lot. And
well-
thank you for everything you have done to bring us.
Well, we will stay in touch, and I know you're working, you've been looking at a particular spot in Liberty Lake, and looking forward to hearing some updates on that. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. All right. Okay, we are on to reports and inquiries. City Council, anybody have a City Council report? Councilmember Spencer.
The day after our last meeting, I was given the opportunity to participate in the Let's simulator with Liberty Lake PD. So I really appreciated that opportunity, and just kind of between that and the active shooter training that I did the week prior, just kind of got just a little glimpse into their world and my appreciation for what they have to go through, the decisions they have to make on a day-to-day basis. So thank you.
And just remember, their ride-alongs are always available. All right, Councilmember Cargill.
Thank you, Mayor. This morning, I, along with, I think it was probably about 200 other parents, welcomed or took our kids to the new Liberty Launch Academy school. Today was their first day, and it's amazing what they have done with that building. So if you have the chance, I would highly recommend going to the building and seeing the way they have the, and I'm going to put these in quotes, classrooms set up, because they're really unlike anything I think any of us are used to or what we experienced when we were in school. So I just want to send a shout out to Sam Abrams and his entire staff for getting that all squared away. They were painting, I think, and putting stuff in place as of about midnight last night. So just in the nick of time.
Right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council reports? Councilmember Solberg.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. City Administrator McAvoy and I had the opportunity last Wednesday to go to the second of the ongoing series of symposiums on homelessness. And if anybody's interested, I will not go through everything, but coming out of that, it reminded me, and I was going to send an email to everybody, but I'll wait to do that, is that the mayor has given us an email sort of prepping us for important information on homeless camps that I believe that the chief and lieutenant started us off on back on August 8th. Take a look at it. I think that what we heard were some possible options to dealing with the Martin versus Boise issues and enforceability of any ordinance that we might have. And I have some ideas for what those ordinances might be as we workshop that sometime in the future. And I sent the same email. I think the mayor and the two of you should have that as well.
Right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, moving on. Just a couple things on my report, budget. And the summer break for a lot of the meetings I go to, everything's starting back up now that school is. So several of the boards I serve on take a little bit of a hiatus during the summer months. So fall meetings are starting back up. So I'm going to get back to be a little bit more diligent, a lot more diligent on my mayor's report. So you'll be starting to see that again. City administrator report.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council. First off, I want to say that I want to give a special thanks to staff. As you all know, we had a cancellation or a postponement of the Symphony in the Park, the concert that's going on right now, and staff had to take a pivot and set up Saturday and then set up again for today. So they have really done a great job of remaining flexible and getting everything ready for that concert to take place for the folks that are down there now enjoying it. So I want to thank them in particular. The first item on my report is the events and reminders, and I want to pay particular attention to the first handful of those because they are scheduled to take place between now and the next council meeting. And there is actually a new business opening up in town, and the ribbon cutting for that is tomorrow. And so City Council is invited to attend and participate in that if you'd like at 3 p.m. And that's the Baker Direct Primary Care. It's a medical office. We're always happy to see new businesses opening up. The last of the Food Truck Thursdays is taking place on the 8th, which is the day after tomorrow. And then a special event for many of us, and one that we've been preparing for a number of years, is the moving wall coming to Liberty Lake. And that's going to be starting on September 15th, followed a couple of days later by the Rotary Rim Ride, and then finally on September 17th, Cruising with Cops. And as we all know, the farmers market is wrapping up for the season with its last session being on October the 8th. And the one that I wanted to just bring your attention to on the bottom there, Cities on Tap, that is a program that the Association of Washington Cities sponsors, where they go around the state and provide opportunities for elected officials to kind of get together and hear about legislative priorities. And so the one that's coming up in our area is October 27th. So if you'd like more information about that, I'm going to be sending out an email later this week so you can have all the details.
Great. And I've been to that many years in the past. Always a good learning experience and another great way to connect with your fellow council members as well for the area.
Absolutely, absolutely. Number two on the list is I wanted to just recognize that the Montana Shakespeare in the Parks has provided us with a plaque that we're going to display out in our entryway. It is their 50th year, and as you all know, within the last couple of weeks, they had their performance in the park, and they wanted to commemorate their 50th year and many of those years presenting shows in Liberty Lake by giving us a nice plaque for that commemoration in celebration of its 50th season. Montana Shakespeare in the Parks and the community of Liberty Lake recognize the tradition of excellence and service, bringing accessible theater to the people of Washington. So we appreciate their partnership and look forward to many years in the future. And with that, it is fortuitous, Councilmember Shepherd, that you mentioned this, or Stewart, that you mentioned this, that you went through this training. Lieutenant Morgan is going to give us a quick update on some of the police department training that includes the law enforcement training simulator that you mentioned earlier. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Lieutenant Morgan.
Sir. Thought if you can bring that slide up, if you would, please. Well, just briefly, we're just going to talk about the law enforcement training simulator that we've had for the last few years. Clear Risk Solutions offers a training simulator that is free for us and all the smaller agencies that they represent throughout the state of Washington. One of the retired state troopers, Ron Huxtable, has been famous for coming out and helping us out every year. He's given up the ghost this year, so he's passing it on to another Washington state trooper that's taken on the training. But they receive training on the equipment itself, operate the equipment trailer throughout the state, usually one time per year. And then all officers receive the training. Our officers receive the training on the simulator from the 15th to the 18th of August. The mayor, our city administrator, obviously, Councilmember Spencer got to come and participate in that training. We really appreciate you coming out and doing that with us today during that time frame. Next slide, please, Don. Just to discuss the training simulator itself. The simulator offers reality-based training with the use of the mobile trailer with interactive video that has the capability of shooting rubber rounds at the officer for added stress to ensure officers can work through any injuries that they may sustain. The interactive piece of that allows them also to engage with the officer. So if the officer has a question or talks to the screen, they can change the way the screen replies or what happens with the screen. So it's really a reality-based system that really offers a good training scenarios for the officers. Each officer goes through about 4 to 5 different scenarios based on the current laws and recent situations observed by law enforcement around the area and the country. And there are over 500 different scenarios built in, and I believe that's just a small number compared to actually one number that they actually have in the system. And so the officers never see the same scenario twice, even though they go through it once a year. After each scenario, they go through an after-action review to discuss what took place and their reactions to the situation. So it helps build the repetitiveness within each officer so they have a better understanding of how to react to situations on a regular basis. The simulators allows officers to practice all their patrol tactics from the bottom of the use of force continuum at verbal persuasion, all the way up to the use of force continuum up to deadly force that may require them to make split-second decisions based on limited information like they would in the field. And the laser operated system provides a general feedback to the officers to show their reaction, the time it takes to react, as well as the placement of any projectiles that were fired. So you'll actually get to see not only a video representation of what's seen on the screen, but you'll also get to see a back feed for the officers to see how they reacted, and they actually get to see their own video presentation on what they did during the time of the altercation. So it's really great feedback for the officers to make sure they're understanding exactly what they're doing during these times. The system uses each of the tools that we have with us on our person, i.e. the pistol, the rifle, the OC spray, and they've even updated the system now to actually have the Taser 7. So that's part of this trailer that's going through the town as well. The LET system itself is great for operating all the training scenarios that we do in law enforcement, but they also, through Clear Risk, also do a driving simulator. And we're going to try to work on getting that in town again. We've had that a couple of times in the past. But the last few times we've tried to put that on, the driving simulator had been down for various reasons. But we're looking forward to doing that as well. Some of the other training we have coming up this next month will include our general range participation. We're actually going to go through each one of the schools as their officers will, to make sure they have an understanding of how the schools lay out, knowing where each one is, where the entrance points are, all the points of interest, where the teachers have all this, the students go to in a time of crisis, and those type of things. So we're going to be working on that training this month as well. And pending any other questions I have, that'll be it for me. Yes, sir.
So you said that you're able to review you record the event in the trailer?
Correct.
So you're able to take it home and review it another day?
Well, I'm actually, no. So what the trainer will do, will actually go through the actual scenario with the officer at the time, and then he'll show him the playback. And let's say the officer didn't see a knife that may have been in a vehicle or something. He can play back that video to show where the officer's eyes was looking at the time, and actually show why he may have missed that knife that's in the car, or why he could have missed something along those lines, or what he was engaged with and who he was interacting with at the time, what would cause him not to see that, or whatever the case may be. The actual video would be of the officers themselves. So you're looking at the screen as things are happening, but they actually do a video of the officer to show you where your eyes and everything are focused on during the time of the event, or when that specific event took place.
The recording going through.
Right there and then, right, for immediate after action review, if you will.
Looking to see if video.
Well, he didn't have to shoot anybody. So.
Great question, but I'll work on that for next time.
For when Phil goes through.
There you go.
How long is the training?
The training casts about 45 minutes to an hour for each person. Yeah. You bet. Any other questions? No.
Yeah, I have a question. And we talked a little bit about this after the simulator training. Do you guys have anything in place that's more on an ongoing basis that you have access to? I know you mentioned something about the training for the county, or but nothing, on site for Liberty Lake Police Department. Is that correct?
We do have a small video training system that offers limited opportunities and limited ability to engage with the actual screen itself. But some of the functions on it aren't near as good as the one that we have operated through the LET system. The county does have an operatable FAT system, and they do have one in the city as well. And they have offered us the ability to use that, but unfortunately, with the fact that they're using it for BLEA now and on a regular basis, it's hard to get that type of stuff scheduled, if you will.
FATS is firearm training simulator. And
Let's-
LEDA is the basic law enforcement training.
Exactly.
So I guess my follow-up question is, do you feel like the once a year LETs and whatever you've got in place, do you feel like that's sufficient for training your officers?
I always think that we could always use more training. Anytime we get the additional training, is better for our officers to get as much training as possible. So I'm an advocate of doing all the training we can to get hands-on, and the more proactive training you can do, the better off your training officers are going to be on the streets. So more training, the better. Yes, sir.
So the system that Darren talked about is pretty archaic, honestly, compared to a lot of the other systems that are out there. Darren and I had the opportunity to go to the police academy, Spokane Police Academy, with the Spokane County and the city to try out a couple of new systems, and also had a couple of reps come into the police department to try out a couple of virtual reality systems. The issue is they're really expensive, and I'll tell you how expensive they are. Spokane County Sheriff's Office Training Center reached out to us, and who else? Cheney and a couple other agencies, to see if we can go in together to purchase one of these systems to put in at the new training center. So it's something that we have explored. It's something that we will in the future, but it's going to cost us. But when I tell you these things are unbelievable, they're unbelievable. Just a short example, this system shoots rubber bullets. One of the new systems actually puts an electric kind of vest on you, and it will disable you. So when you say you get shot and you have to work through it. And it is disabling. I can't move my arm or I can't, and the operator has the opportunity to actually show, choose where the injury occurs. Another thing is environment. So if some of these systems, we can basically get a virtual environment of anything in the city. So our schools, we can make the high school. So our officers can go in the virtual reality realm through our high school or City Hall or Albertsons or Safeway. So these systems have a lot of capabilities compared to this one, but again, they are expensive. So, but it's something that we've explored. Finally, one of the things that we will purchase next year, hopefully if the budget is approved for us, is some simulition rounds to do some reality-based training. So this is similar to the system here, except they're real life shooters. And when I say simulition rounds, they're rounds. They come at you and they hurt and they will break the skin. And so we can do some reality-based training under pressure when you're actually taking fire. So those are some things that we're looking at. So.
Do you have additional money in the budget to pay for those medical bills?
When you go, you have a helmet and protective gear,
Okay.
gloves, and
All right, let's
unless
check it.
you're really tough.
Just check it. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
They're within five.
So I'm going to invite David Williams up to the podium to give the road construction update. And as he's doing that, I have to say, sometimes my tongue gets ahead of my brain. So I want to apologize to Jed for calling him the wrong name. And so it won't happen. Sorry about that. So back to David, and he's going to update us on the various road construction projects.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and citizens of Liberty Lake. It's good to see you guys in person, first time and stuff. So I want to give you in person just update today because we've had several changes to some of our schedule for projects and streets opening. So I just want to be here to field some questions that you might have at the 30,000-foot view and give you the best answer I could possibly give. So these are the projects here that I'm going to talk about. I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. Next slide, please, Todd. Yeah. I don't even know what that looks like here. So, all right. The first project is the signal project at Country Vista Legacy Ridge. I received so many phone calls about this project, and so now you see some photos there of the work that's actually taking place. There's poles up right now, so we actually are moving on this job. It should be prepared and actually completed by early October 2022. So in just about a month or so. So if anybody does have more questions about that, please don't hesitate to ask. Next slide, please. This is the Kramer Bridge project, and you're going to see me actually separate two jobs here. There's a Kramer Bridge project actually extends all the way down to Country Vista, but goes all the way up to Mission as well too. The roundabout at Mission is a part of the Kramer Bridge project. However, surrounding the area on Mission, that's a whole different project. That's actually the Mission Avenue project. So the roundabout construction is underway. The MSE walls and bridge approaches under construction. The roundabout and top asphalt lifts are completed. And the Country Vista striping actually did just take place. So the road's actually coming together quite nicely right now. Next slide, please. And this is the Country Vista to Interstate 90 eastbound. The on-ramp will be closed next week, beginning Wednesday through Friday. And that's good where they're going to be moving in the next section of girders where they're going to have to do a little bit of construction on the roadway. And we want to make sure that people understand that to, take the opposite, take Barker or take Liberty Lake to get onto the freeway. Next slide, please. And this again is an example of what that looks like. Those gigantic concrete blocks there. They do span the whole portion of the roadway, and they will be completing that on the eastbound side coming next week. So there will be a couple different closures happening at night, and also too, you will recognize that there will be night work taking place indefinitely, going for quite a long time. That's going to be a lot of bridge work. So just drive through the area, slow, a little slower, and watch out for the construction guys. Next slide, please. All right, this is the Mission Avenue project, and this is the one that if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. The roadway is under engineering review right now. There's some things that we need to make sure are working properly and the methodology is correct. The project ins and outs, the tie-ins on the east and west of the Kramer intersection roundabout have been paved and striped, but we are going through an engineering review right now just to make sure things are correct. Next slide, please. This is, again, the detour route that we have going along from Harvard and then over to Indiana and to Harvest. And actually, you can go to the next slide as well, too. As school is beginning, we're just asking people to please direct your children to use the detour. Please do not have your kids go through the construction zone. In fact, I want to thank Liberty Lake PD, you guys, for patrolling that area. We have residents that actually do drive through those areas right now, right down Mission. It is a closed roadway. We're asking you please not to do that because you might encounter construction equipment. You might just encounter construction stuff. So we just ask you please stay off of that road until it actually is open. And one more time, please lead your kids to take the detour. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. And this is a Kramer rehab project. This is actually kind of a great end to this thing. We're coming up and close to this thing actually being completed. The roadway actually has been paved for most of the road. About 2/3 of it's about 3/4 of it are done. The section closest actually at Sprague, I think it's Legacy Springs, I think it is. Trying to read that real fast. I realize that I'm 46 now. I can't read as far as I used to. This aging thing. So yeah, that road, that portion, the top right picture right there, it is still open right now. And beginning today, they actually are doing complete demo of that area and it's going down to Sprague. So that's going to take us another 4 days or so. Well, we're saying all the way up until September 21st. But we're trying to work diligently to get this portion of the roadway done. So please just know that if you're coming out of Green Acres to take the roundabout over to Sprague and then up to Apple Way. And the residents are living in Legacy Ridge, you can actually drive down Kramer all the way to Country Vista. So Legacy Ridge, and they're pretty much open for traffic. And it is striped right now as well. And next slide, please. The Kramer Parkway between Sprague and Legacy Springs. I forgot about this one. So this is a 2-week hard closure. This is the same area I was just speaking about. This, you can see the photos here. This is what it looks like currently. We again are going through an engineering review to make sure that it's rebuilt correctly and it's done appropriately. So just know that if you're coming out of Green Acres, this section of the roadway will be closed for the next 2 weeks. That's our projected schedule. We are hoping and pushing this one through N.A. Degerstrom to get that one done actually a little faster. Next slide, please. And you can see here, this is just an illustration of our layout showing you the white area is Kramer that is open. And you can come off of Legacy Ridge onto Kramer and then up to Country Vista and back and forth. And that hard road closure is just there between Sprague and Legacy Springs. Okay, next slide, please. And we asked too, there is patrolling going on out there on Country Vista. That yellow area is 25-mile-per-hour construction zone. Please obey the speed limit because I know some guys in blue that are right behind me that are looking for individuals going over the speed limit. So please slow down to that area. We appreciate it. Go ahead.
Quick question while you're on that one, David. I know we've had some issues with people stealing those speed limit signs. In fact, yesterday when I was headed west on that road, there was no speed zone ahead, construction. I didn't see any sign that said 25 until I got right up to the construction area.
Yeah.
So I know we've been having some issues.
We have a disappearing 25-mile-per-hour zone speed limit signs, and a lot of construction signs are actually disappearing. So our construction crew out there, they are taking care of that as much as possible. And my project manager, Phil Messick, and myself, we're basically really trying to stay on top of that, but it is a continuing issue. So our crew, Derek Kamisek, he actually has put out our own Liberty Lake's own speed limit signs as well. We're trying to keep up with that.
Well, and granted, yeah, when I went by, it was as a holiday, so nobody was probably even looking at it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, next slide, please. And one more time, construction zones are closed. So please, if you're driving through Mission, please stop. And then Country Vista, obey the signs as well. I came here just in case you all had any questions involving the closure at Mission. It will not be opened from maybe the next, we're going through a couple meetings. We're projecting that may not be open until potentially October. And then Kramer, like I said before, we're projecting that to be open on the 21st of September. Again, we're looking ahead to try to get that done quickly. But if you have questions about that, because I know that citizens will ask you guys directly about those things. So I'm here for that in case.
Any
Any
other
questions? Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I went through that too fast. It should be done end of summer 2023.
So we've gone from spring to summer now.
Yeah, yeah. There was, I told you guys before, we had some MSC wall delivery and production getting here that had nothing to do with the contractor. It was all a production from it being manufactured. So they've been working diligently. They actually are working on bridge portions right now to try to get those things done quickly as the components are coming in, but they are coming in now. So it's kind of a steady trickle.
Okay, yeah, I
driving
saw
us all
some on
there.
the side of the road on the north side.
Yeah.
On the Mission, north side Mission,
Mhm.
with going in, undergoing the engineering review. I know obviously the goal was to have that open before school started, which is Thursday, so that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
How long are we looking with regards to a delay on that?
We have a meeting coming up this week to discuss that with our contractor and developer as well. So we're hoping, I should have what I will do is send you all out information about that so you can
Okay.
talk to your constituents about that specifically. But right now, I'm gonna project out early October for that. Yeah, and what I did, I let the school district know that, and obviously the emergency services know that as well too, because we want to make sure that, everybody's covered on that.
All right, well, we need to get something out on the city's website and on our Facebook page ASAP, because everybody who's going to Selkirk is expecting that to be open before
Yes.
school starts. So we
Yes.
need to get that message out, even if we don't have a date yet,
Mhm.
to at least let them know that it's not going to happen before school starts.
Yeah, and David's actually been really good about putting out the Facebook posts as well too. So I appreciate you answering those questions, and I try to answer as they come as well.
Great.
Go ahead.
And Councilmember Solberg.
Well, I'm just gonna say, Dave's done it, when you put the notice out,
Mhm.
it's not minutes before it's put out on the city page. And if David keeps doing that, and then if you send them to us, then we can get it out on next door. and so-
Oh, perfect. Okay, then I'll actually do that too. Then when I send you emails, David, I'll copy you guys on that. I'll make sure that,
I've been taking it, my lead on him. The emails come later, but.
Yeah, Tom's really good about updating the
Perfect.
next door
Okay,
site.
yeah.
Thank you for that. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's not one I have fully embraced yet.
Yeah.
Two other questions, if I can. One, easy one. We're making forward momentum on the Public Works building. Second question. I thought I heard some discussions today about some sub-base issues on Kramer. Can you speak to that?
I can. Yeah, there were some sub-base issues on Kramer. That's actually part of what the issue was. We got to that area, we noticed that there were some areas that needed a little bit more work as far as subgrade. And then we did this, our milling operation. It's a little bit, the depth of the asphalt was not what it should have been. So made some changes, and then it's actually working out well on our end. We're not paying any more for the project on that.
That was my next question.
Yeah, yeah. So Liberty Lake will not be footing the bill for that. In fact, we had a really great partnership with one of the developers that understood what took place, and we're going through that with them as well. So they've actually handled that extremely well for us. We've been really appreciative.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. And then the Public Works building, yeah, we're going through all the permit reviews right now, since a couple out today, so it's moving forward quite well.
Permit reviews, you must know somebody in that department.
I might, couple, bald dude, black guy, I know.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Spencer.
Oh, yeah, so on the Mission, what is the holdup that's pushing it back about a month?
Okay, so we noted that there were, we had some plan profile and then cross-section needs for drainage. In fact, Phil Messick, like I said, I always talk about the guy. He did an amazing job doing a check on the roadway and noted a couple things that we just wanted to make sure are correct. Because last thing we want out there are bird baths and the like. So we have standards that we want to abide by here for Liberty Lake, and then those standards need to be upheld. And so we're going through that review with the developer and the construction crew as well. We have great eyes out there through the project manager, Phil Messick, as well, and we're doing our best to make sure that those standards are held too. So as time goes by, we will be going through a couple different meetings to make sure those things are taken care of.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. All right, thanks, David. Appreciate it.
All right, no other
I know
questions?
everybody on Legacy Ridge is thrilled to see those poles finally go up.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
No,
Thank you.
David, did you get your hamburger?
What's that?
I said, did you get your hamburger?
Oh, you know I did.
All right.
I can eat, yeah.
All right, thank you, David. Appreciate it. Moving on to number 5, Spokane Transit Authority. I wanted to real quickly mention that they have made some changes to their routes and what they're billing as the most significant changes in 10 years. And we have 4 routes that come into and out of Liberty Lake, and 3 of those 4 had some changes associated with them. And so given that we have riders that are coming in and riders that are going out to other places, I wanted to make mention of that. And the specific details of each of those route changes are available at the Spokane Transit Authority's website. And you can drill down to the route and get really specific about what the new stops are, what the new endpoints are. We have a new express line coming in, new express route coming into the city. And so all that information in a tremendous amount of detail is available on the website. So if anyone wants to explore that, they can do that at any time. And the last item I have on my report, Mayor, is an update regarding the closing on 23129 East Mission. And I'll ask Kyle to provide just a quick update.
Thanks, Mark. So yeah, a very, very brief update. Just want to let Mayor and council know that we are on track to close on Thursday, September 8th. We anticipate receiving those documents tomorrow morning for the mayor to review, and we've already set up our system in place to deliver those funds via wire on Thursday. So we'll have a brand new building as of Thursday. So.
All right. Thank you. All right, we are on to Parks and Arts. I didn't know if we had anybody here. I'm trying to check our visitors. I see if there's anybody from Parks and Arts to give. We have a lot of visitors online. This is great. I don't see anybody. If I missed Parks and Arts, just shoot a note to Todd and I'll come back to you. I don't think we've got anybody here from community engagement, do we, David? All right, next, Chief Soto, Spokane Valley Fire.
Good evening, council members. And I will be bringing you this last month's run numbers. Next slide, please. So for the month of August, we had 118 911 dispatches. Next slide. Of those 118, they garnered 87 responses. So again, sometimes that number is not the same only because of cancellations on calls. Next slide. Try to bigger look this time to kind of give you guys an easier look. So the top 5 calls were sick calls, fire alarm activations, falls, chest pain, motor vehicle accidents, and vehicle fires. Next slide. For the year, we've had 879 dispatches for 911. You can see on the map there, the bubbles represent the highest amount of calls. The red bubbles are the highest amount of fire calls. The number 1 caller is Guardian. Next slide, please. Those 879 dispatches garnered 789 responses. Next slide. Our top 5 calls, number 1 is still falls, followed by sick calls, alarm activations, fire alarm activations to be specific, motor vehicle accidents, and trouble breathing. Next slide. So significant events this last month, burn restrictions are still in place. As you can tell, things are just now going to start to ramp up. We saw this happening because of the amount of rainfall that we were getting. So this is not new, but obviously a huge concern. So we're out and about making sure that we're on it as soon as it happens. Our Recruit Academy graduated on August 31st. We had 10 recruits that did a great job, so we can be more pleased with them. And so they're already out in the stations now. Our fall open house will be Saturday, October 1st at 10 a.m. So this has not occurred the last couple of years because of COVID. So this is back. So I hope to see you all there and your families. So we're going to make it a huge event. Deputy Chief Greg Rogers was recently sworn in as the chair for the International Association of Fire Chiefs Fire and Life Safety section. So it's a pretty big deal because that's for the whole United States. So pretty cool. The week from 8/22 to 8/25, we hosted a regional training, ladder truck training specifically at our training tower with Kootenai County and Fire District number 9. So that collaborations with our partners has been going really well. So we want to keep those going. So we have more trainings coming. Fire Prevention Week is October 9th to the 15th of this year. On to significant incidents. We've had a lot here. It's been pretty wild, the Wild West out here recently. We had a motor vehicle accident. Crews found a vehicle with a 16-foot trailer that went into a ditch. That was on August 22nd. Patient care was provided with no transports to the hospital, and it was pulled out of the ditch. We had a significant, what looked like a significant car fire on I-90 and Liberty Lake Otis Orchards eastbound, but it was a radiator hose that had blown. And you'd be surprised how many times people call us from hoses on roofs that burst over time, and the spray just looks like smoke. So that was the case on this one. We had a structure fire, small structure fire on South Shirley Road and South Corbin Lane. It was in the laundry room and is quickly knocked out. So no issues there. We had the brush fire on August 26th. I don't know if you guys remember that one. It was pretty big, slow moving, but it was alongside I-90 near state line. So we did put that out, but again, we've continually warned drivers to please be responsible, especially when it comes to smoking cigarettes and where you park your vehicles. That is it for my report. Do you have any questions?
I don't, any events coming up that we need to know about?
We are going to be starting our, I hate to say get voter fatigue, but we have our M&O coming up. That'll be early next year, February. So that's coming up. We are also elbow deep in our budget process. So then just the general stuff that's going on, 9/11. So we will be doing a tribute over at the fairgrounds for that. So other than that, was just full speed ahead, and we're just trying to get back into the swing of things and get involved with everything that's going on. So.
Great. Thank you for being here. You guys can duke it out. Councilmember Dunn.
The fall open house at the training center on Sullivan, October 1st.
Oh, the training center, you're talking about our.
Yeah, you mentioned the fall open house on October 1st. What's the location?
Oh, yes, sir. So it will be at our current training and academy. So, but I'm glad you brought that up. So as an update to our new our new maintenance facility that's being built, it is going along really good now. We had to get all those rocks and clay out of there, which, by the way, we have plenty of foundational rocks and boulders, like 10 feet tall, and I mean just hundreds of thousands of pounds that we need to get rid of. We're trying to get out of there. So for young 46-year-olds that need foundational rocks, we have those for you. So it is coming along, and it's expected to be done by the end of the year, possibly the first 2 weeks in January.
Actually, I had the same question where the open house is. And is that on Sullivan? Or where's the training center?
It is on Sullivan. It's north side of the freeway by Station 5. And we're gonna put that all over the place. I've already seen it's already in Splash and those things. So it'll be all over our Facebook and everywhere.
And we'll get it shared from the city's page as well. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a great evening.
You too. All right, Liberty Lake Water and Sewer District, are you still there somewhere? I see you on there.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Excellent. All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. It's been a while since I've talked to you, but I hope everyone had a great summer. Just a couple of quick updates from the Sewer and Water District. One, our NPDES permit, we finally received it from the state. That's the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit. And we are appealing it and asking for a partial stay because some of the limits that they're requiring, we're not able to comply with. Most specifically, there's a temperature limit because where we put our treated effluent into the river, it's gaining reach. So a lot of the cold water from the aquifer is coming into the river. And so, our water is warmer than that. So it's kind of a technicality, and it's something that we're working with the permitting authorities on to try to work this out. Anyway, we did finally get a permit, but we're actually now appealing it. So that's an update, kind of a technical one. The backflow prevention testing program, which is ongoing, but for this year, it's the year's almost over, and we're down to a few stragglers of all of the people that have irrigation and sprinkler systems. We're down to 4 residential and 6 commercial customers who have not yet been tested and certified. So we're pretty happy about that because there's hundreds out there. They all 10 of these folks had deferred deadlines for various reasons. We've been trying to work with them, but we're coming to the end here, so they're going to get shut off notices. Hopefully, we'll get these last 10 taken care of. Lake treatment was supposed to post today and ideally be treated tomorrow, depending on the weather. It's a fairly non-restrictive treatment, so there aren't any official restrictions on using the lake. But I will not be going in the lake for the next 24 to 48 hours, so everyone can make their own decisions. But you never know on things like that, so probably best to maybe find something else to do the next couple of days. And then folks probably saw in their August bills a little bit higher bill just because we do the quarterly meter reading. And so that's when everybody catches up with their meter for all of their summer irrigation. So people probably saw a little bit higher bill than their standard bill in August. And that's all I had for updates. Happy to answer any questions or concerns anybody has.
Anybody have anything?
I just have one question.
Sure.
On the stragglers, do you not, maybe it's because it's private property, but do you not have the authority to just send somebody to go do the backflow tests and add it to their bill?
It's a great question. I don't know specifically if we have the authority or not. I do know that the approach we've taken is to say that, what we will do is we can stop providing services if you don't comply with the health and safety requirements of our system. So we're only doing this for health and safety reasons. So if you're not willing to certify that your private system isn't going to impact anybody else, then we can shut your water off. So that's the approach that we've taken, which is a little bit different than going in and sort of doing it for them. I think we always try to hesitate to go into private property and do something to someone's, private stuff that, that we don't have any ownership rights to. But we do have rights to the sewer and water systems. In this case, the water systems. That's where we can make a difference.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Councilmember Dunn.
I just say, I think Bill, when he was here last, he said you actually cut service for people who are not in compliance. How many people have been cut off their lack of compliance in the backflow?
So what we've done is put out shut off notices, and we have a very specific and strict process we go through that involves multiple communications and colored cards on doors. And there's no way you could miss getting this notification that, hey, you're not following the rules. And so what we, in the last go round, that Bill might have mentioned, we put all those out and everyone quickly called in and said, okay, I'm taking care of this. And oh my gosh, for whatever reason, this or that, my guy's coming tomorrow, I'll have this taken care of. So generally speaking, that's when people realize that we're actually serious and we're not messing around and this is a health and safety issue. So on these last 10, the shut off notices have gone out. I would be very surprised if any of those 10 had their water shut off. The standard sort of operating procedure is that you get that and then they finally comply. So that's what I would expect would happen. It's kind of a bureaucratic pain for us to go through this, but again, shutting someone's water off is a big deal and we're not going to do that lightly. So we take a lot of steps to make sure everyone had every single chance they could have, including deferred deadlines, multiple notifications. We're willing to work with them. We're willing to do plans, all kinds of things to make sure that doesn't happen.
Thanks. I respect and
Yeah.
appreciate the
Yeah.
action.
All right, just one last question for me. Not, and we may not have a date yet, but people have started to ask me about fall leaf cleanup. I'm assuming our staffs are working together on that, or do you happen to have a date?
I don't have a date yet, and I haven't talked to BJ about that, but I am certain that we will continue to work together to make sure that that happens. You know, and Chris, I'm glad you brought that up. Mayor Kaminskas, I'm glad you brought that up. When I was driving by, coming westbound on 90 several weeks ago, I drove by what I thought was an incredible eyesore for our community. And I was embarrassed to see that it was the Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District. And what happened, I talked to BJ, I called him right away, I said, BJ, what is going on? Because there were a whole bunch of plastic bags, leaf bags by the side of the road there, you know, on the sewer district's property. And apparently, you know, we have people come out every year after all the bags are dumped and they cut them open. And it's actually kind of a community program where they have people who run work study or work programs for different reasons that are coming out there and giving back to the community forcefully in some cases. Anyway, they had not cut a lot of the bags and just piled leaves on top of them. So when we went in to kind of turn things over to help mulch the, you know, the leaves and compost them, all these bags turned up that we didn't know were there. And we immediately, BJ said, he goes, don't worry, Nana, we're taking care of this. They immediately set in motion a plan to go and recut those bags open and get the leaves out and get the bags out. So that was taken care of. Apologies for anybody who drove by there and thought, this is not the community I live in, because that's exactly what I thought. So it was kind of a one-time snafu and it won't happen again.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that because I know that Jen Camp fielded a not so great phone call about that a couple weeks ago. So I'm not quite sure where the gentleman lived. He didn't live in Liberty Lake, but he happened to go by and see it. And of course, that led all kinds of accusations of dumping waste into the water system, which we assured him was not happening. So I appreciate you guys addressing that.
Yeah, no, it was an unfortunate mistake that happened when they, you know, didn't cut all the bags and covered them up. So it won't happen again.
Great. Appreciate it. Thanks
Yeah,
for
sure.
updating us today.
Yep, no problem. Thanks.
Wait, quick question from Councilmember Spencer here.
Yep.
Yeah, just a quick question. Is there a reason why the bags aren't just emptied at the time that they're brought to that site?
So what we have been doing, and this is changing, ever changing, and working with the city staff to make sure we do whatever seems to work the best for the citizens. In the past, we have had people just drop the bags off. And I think, I'm guessing it's probably from a logistical standpoint. We kind of want to get people in, dump their bags and get out of there. So the additional time it would take and confusion and potential, you know, hazards of people cutting open bags themselves or opening them up and dumping them out would just be kind of messy. And so in the past, we've just done it this way. But it's certainly something we could look at if, you know, people would, you know, want to dump their own bags or use compostable bags, which would be a little bit more, again, logistically difficult to get everyone to put their leaves in, you know, brown compostable, you know, paper bags as opposed to the plastic leaf bags. But I can bring it up with BJ and see what he thinks.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the suggestion.
All right. All right. Well, thanks. Nato, good to see you. And we will hear from you again in the near future, I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Okay, we are on to workshops. So now's the time to have any further discussion on the Trailhead GMP with the action item being the first thing under general business. So are there any more comments or discussions that you guys want to have on the Trailhead? Councilmember Cargill.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm gonna say this hopefully one last time, and then we'll be done with this conversation. Obviously, everyone knows where I stand, and I hate to be the negative Nancy here, but a lot of these numbers make me really nervous about the direction that we're heading. Not only because of this project in particular, but because of the numerous projects that we're doing this year, all happening at once. I think that is the main concern that I have is all of these happening at once, what it's doing to our balances in the different funds that we have, and the fact that I'm troubled that the citizens haven't really had a say in this. I know we've done the golf course, or excuse me, we've done the farmer's market, and we've done the Citizen Engagement Commission. There's been other things as well, but I think it's important to point out that not all citizens participate in those particular issues. You know, as I was going through some of my notes about this over the past couple of days, the notes that I've made over the past 9 months or so, as I've been discussing this on the council, and I know it's previous to that as well, it occurred to me that this is going to put the city in debt for longer than any of us are probably going to serve on this council or be involved in the city. In fact, I was just thinking that the amount of debt that we're taking out here with this won't be paid off until I go to retire. And I think I'm one of the youngest council members. And Jed might be a little bit younger. I think he is. It's a project, as I've mentioned before, that's a quarter of the size of our entire city budget. To me, the most transparent thing we can do, and the process is critically important. And I think it's better to have the public's input on this. The citizens deserve to have the right to decide. So I'd like to make a motion that we instruct the city clerk to submit ballot language to the Spokane County Auditor that would ask voters in the city of Liberty Lake to approve the issuance of these bonds to fund the Trailhead Golf renovation facility.
Do we have a second? Not hearing any, your motion, I guess dies. Yep, dies for lack of second. All right, thank you. Is there any further comments? If not, we'll just go ahead and move on to general business, and then we'll get into action items.
Okay. Mayor would like to make a motion to approve general business consent agenda. Item was 10A B 2016-2022 meeting minutes, and approve the September 6, 2022 vouchers in the amount of $260,641.26.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Kurtz. Any questions or discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor of approving the general business consent agenda items A and B, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, ayes have it. Motion passes 7-0.
Sorry. So we have, I'll just make a motion.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, include the amount
Will you?
or option 1 or 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, general business, item 11A, make a motion to approve the final guaranteed maximum price contract addendum for the Trailhead construction, in reference to option number 2.
And you can give us the dollar amount just so everybody's
Which
clear.
is a total cost of $7,295,000. You want me to add the finance part of it too? With the,
Well, we shouldn't have 2 things in a motion, so let's do the first one and then. if it
okay, and
makes
then we'll
sense.
make a motion for the financing?
Yeah. Or-
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's my motion.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Solberg. Any further discussion? Councilmember Cargill.
Thank you, Mayor. It seems to me that we should be discussing where the money comes from before we discuss the fact that we're going to spend it. So for that and numerous reasons, I'll be voting opposed. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, my thought is that if it doesn't pass, then we don't have to discuss the financing. So if there's no other comments on this one, Councilmember Dunn?
Just a clarification to restate the motion, does it refer to option 1, the value of 7.295 million, or option 2 at 6.995?
You have the right option.
Option 2 is what I said.
Option 1 is the 7.2.
Oh, it is? I'm sorry, then I got it backwards.
so-
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to clarify the motion on the floor, motion is to approve option 1 for the total amount of $7,295,000. We have a
Thanks.
second by Councilmember Solberg.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councilmember Dunn. All right, any further discussion? All right, not seeing any. All in favor of approving option 1, please say aye and raise your right hand so I can make sure I got everybody.
Aye.
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 All right, let me go. Hold on, I'm still. All right, looks like ayes have it. Four in favor and 2 opposed.
So
All right,
can I
so-
ask a question of
Yeah.
Kyle before I make a
Wait,
motion?
Five
What-
to two?
4 in
Oh,
favor and
look,
2
maybe I'm-
opposed?
Yeah, 5 to 2. I can't add tonight.
That Granicus thing, man.
I know. Go ahead. There's a question.
That was my question.
Okay,
is-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 5 wise dead. Okay.
We're good?
Next one, yes.
So at this point, regarding the last motion, I'd like to make a new motion to pay for the additional, what's the amount?
300,000.
100,000.
300,000 from our existing
Golf operation.
balance in the golf operations fund.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Solberg. Any discussion? Okay, not seeing any. All in favor of funding the additional $300,000 for option 2 out of the golf operations fund, please say aye and raise your hand.
Option 1.
Option 1.
Option 1.
Aye. All right, so it looks like we've got motion passes 6-1. All right, we have funding and we have an approved option 1 this time. I need to get some white out. All right, next one.
Next item, general business 11B, make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the Washington State opioid distribution allocation agreement and participation form.
Okay, and Sean is on the line, if you guys have any questions. So do we have a second on item B?
Second.
Thank you. And second by Councilmember Kurtz. And any discussion or, like I said, any questions for Sean? It was a long document.
It's 111 pages long.
I want to know who read the whole.
I didn't read the whole thing, but I do.
I read most of it, but I read the important parts.
Hope so. All right, Councilmember Spencer.
Yeah, so and again, I didn't read the whole thing, but as I read through, there were multiple spots in the document that stated that the defendant was not, was not admitting to any fault or having broken any laws. So I'm just curious as to what all of this accomplishes, and because I know the amount coming to the city of Liberty Lake is very small. So we talked about, well, we would probably pool that with, an interlocal agreement. But I'm just curious if this is mostly just, and maybe Sean, you can talk about this. Is this mostly just kind of a money grab? Like, do we feel like this is actually going to accomplish something? Because I know the lawyers get a lot of money, and no offense to you, Sean, but I'm just curious as to what the attempt is to accomplish with all of this.
Well, obviously I wasn't a party to the negotiations, but I think the intent on a global scale for the state as a whole, that they believe it will accomplish, many things. Does it accomplish everything? Probably not. But that's the risk that, Washington and other states took as far as if they had to go to trial. The language as far as admitting liability or responsibility is fairly typical. You see that in settlement agreements. We're agreeing to settle, but we haven't gone to court and had a judge or jury decide that we are liable. So therefore we're not admitting fault, but we know there could be risks. So as a part of that risk, we have a monetary settlement. So to the extent that it would work, statewide, obviously, I'm sure some or all of you saw the percentages, some are greater than others. And it's a prorated portion to jurisdictions that have, a particular issue with opioids. Some areas are higher than others, and therefore they're going to receive a larger dollar amount. But I think the intent is, at least from the AG's office, is that it was a better settlement, and it will work well for Washington. Is it going to help cure everything? Absolutely not. I mean, that's just not reasonable under the circumstances, but I think they think it will go a long way to helping and assisting. The future will tell us that for sure, but I think at this point, that's what they believe.
Okay, great. Any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and go to a vote. All those in favor of authorizing the mayor to sign the Washington State opioid distribution allocation agreement and participation form, please say aye.
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 looks like we have 7 yeses. I still have to ask any opposed. Not hearing any. It looks like motion passes 7-0.
General Business 11C, make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign interlocal agreement with Central Valley for a school resource officer.
Second. We have a second from Councilmember Kurtz. All right, any questions or discussion on this? Chief's here. If we guys and chief and past chief are here, if you guys have any questions.
I just say
Councilmember Dunn.
I'm grateful for collaboration with our school district to ensure the public safety of our students.
Ditto. Anybody else? All right, seeing no further comments, those in favor of authorizing mayor to sign the interlocal agreement with Central Valley for a school resource officer, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
And it looks like I've got 7 out of 7, just to make sure. Any opposed? All right, looks like ayes have it, 7-0.
General Business 11D, make a motion to confirm the appointments of Jennifer Kosaka, I hope I'm saying that right,
Mhm.
and Bill Norman to the Community Engagement Commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Councilmember Solberg.
Did they just leave?
No, they weren't here. No. But yeah, we finally, I think now, once we appoint these, we'll only have 1 left to fill the Community Engagement Commission, and the person we're looking for is, we need somebody in the Legacy Ridge, Legacy Villas area in Country Vista Apartments. So if anybody knows anybody, send them our way. So yeah, both would be great, great additions to the commission. And as I think most of you know, I started back when I took office, started including both the staff liaison and one of the members of each of the commissions in these interviews, because it's very important that whoever's appointed, can work in conjunction with the rest of the members. So I think that process has worked really well. And it's great having the point of view of the people who are already on the commission as to what they actually do, because obviously I'm not in all those meetings. So it's worked out really well. So if you don't have any questions or discussion, those in favor of appointing Jennifer Kosaka and Bill Norman to the Community Engagement Commission, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's like ayes have it, 7-0.
Okay, General Business 11E, approve a 3-year agreement with ProCare Services for annual maintenance of automated external defibrillators, otherwise known as AEDs, supplied by the LLPD, also known as Liberty Lake Police Department, by the Spokane Valley Fire Department.
Second.
A second by Councilmember Solberg. Any questions, discussion? I know this has been on the agenda for a while, and this is for the annual calibration. All right, not seeing any. All in favor of approving the 3-year agreement with ProCare, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, ayes have it. Motion passes 7-0, and I just lost my screen. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, General Business 11F, make a motion to approve a 1-year agreement with DATEC, DATEC, otherwise known, providing 24/7 IT network monitoring.
Right. Second. You have a second by Councilmember Kurtz. Any questions? I know Todd and Kyle are here. If you guys have any questions, this is an annual thing that we do to help provide our better security for our network, as we've been trying to beef that up over the last year and a half. All right, not seeing any discussion. All in favor of approving the 1-year agreement with Daytech, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, looks like we've got 7 out of 7. Again, motion passes 7-0.
General Business 11G, make a motion to authorize pre-approval for Streets Department to purchase 2 trucks not to exceed $110,000 as they become available.
All right, we have a second. Second. So a couple, we haven't had Councilmember Van Orman on the list here today, so we'll second from Councilmember Van Orman. Any questions? I know Trevor's on, though I can't see him anymore. My battery just died. But if you guys have questions for Trevor, he is on. I don't see any. All right, looks like there's no questions. For those in favor of authorizing the pre-approval for the Streets Department to purchase 2 trucks not to exceed $110,000 as they become available, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. All right, so we are on to council comments. Any further thoughts or discussion?
I don't have a comment, just a question.
Yes.
Regarding the email from today as far as a response.
Which one? I've got so many emails.
It was regarding the use of ARP funds.
Yeah, I was gonna get with Kyle so he can answer that.
Okay, so
I haven't sent it to you yet. But yeah, I'm just gonna have Kyle.
I didn't respond.
Answer that,
Okay, just
yeah.
want to make sure it was on somebody's to-do
I
list.
wasn't sure who all got it. It looked like everybody was blind copied, so I didn't know who all it went to.
I didn't get.
Okay.
See it either.
All right, I'll get it forwarded to everybody. So
Thank you.
basically it was just a question of whether or not using the ARP funds for the Ridgeline donation qualified, which it does based on what we're allowed to do.
Just want to make sure we follow that. So
Perfect,
thank you.
yes.
Yep, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, great. No public hearings or appeals, no
I just have one,
resolutions.
Chris, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, go
Um,
ahead.
A shout out to Todd Henderson and his recent coverage in the Spokesman Review on cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Todd was recognized in quote action as, specifically defending against intrusion to the city of Bitter Lake.
Yep.
So
Great, thanks for pointing that out. All right.
Did they refer to him as Mr. Wizard?
Hey, cybersecurity supporter.
Yeah, it's scary what's out there, I'll tell you. Okay, ordinances, we have second read ordinance 287. All right, temporary clerk, get it together over there.
All right, City of Liberty Lake, Washington, ordinance number 287, an ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington relating to contracting indebtedness, providing for the issuance, sale, and delivery of not to exceed 7 million aggregate principal amount dollars of limited tax general obligation bonds in one or more series to provide funds to finance a portion of the city's Trailhead Golf Course building and parking lot improvement project and other capital improvements, and to pay the cost of issuance of the bonds, fixing or setting parameters with respect to certain terms and covenants of the bonds, appointing the city's designated representative to approve the final terms of the sale of the bonds, and providing for other related matters.
Okay, you talk really fast when you want to.
Mm.
All right, do we have a motion to approve ordinance 287?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem Foyer. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Councilmember Dunn. Discussion, questions. We do have people on the line here. If you guys do have questions for Foster Garvey. Yes, go ahead, Dan.
Operationally, do we do public comment, second read?
Oh, yes, I will get to that before the vote. Thank you for the reminder. All right, so if you guys don't have any questions, we will go ahead and, go ahead and Councilmember
have
Randall.
one. Only because I've been absent for a little while. Can you reiterate? We're sitting at what year? 15 or 20?
I don't think that's not part of this, is it?
Part of this? Okay.
And so what this ordinance approves is us continuing down the process of finalizing terms, amounts. And Northwest Municipal Advisors, who's on the call tonight, will put out an RFP for financing services. Those will be brought back to council for their consideration, the October 4th meeting for subsequent authorization for the mayor to proceed with terms as outlined by council.
All right, any other questions? All right, not seeing or hearing any. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, yes. Citizen comments, I don't know, it doesn't, is there anybody here in chambers who'd like to comment on ordinance 287? If not, if there's anybody online who'd like to comment on ordinance 287, please send a note to Todd in the chat function in the Zoom, and he will get my attention and let me know there's someone to make a comment. Okay. Not seeing any. Let's pause for just a moment. Okay, somebody's still typing. Nothing? All right. Okay, so we have no citizen comments, so we'll go to the council vote. So all those in favor of approving ordinance 287, please raise your right hand. Or any hand, that's fine with me. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and those opposed? All right, we have a vote of 6-1. Motion passes 6-1. Get get my notes down here, trying to make sure I can help Kyle out wherever possible on. All right, next, first read ordinance 284.
Ordinance 284A, City of Liberty Lake, Spokane County, Washington. An ordinance amending ordinance number 284 passed by the City Council on December 21st, 2021, entitled An Ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, adopting a budget for the period January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, appropriating funds and establishing salary schedules for established positions.
All right, so first read, but where there is still an opportunity for discussion if you guys would like to discuss. So Councilmember Solberg.
Well, just a discussion on the process.
Yeah.
At one point, not just one point, a couple of points in meetings past, we have waived and gone to the second reading. What is the criteria for that?
That's
Because-
usually when there's an emergency. Yeah, something of this nature, which is kind of significant. We need to make sure we hit the 3 touches.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
but I appreciate the ask. We don't do that a lot, so
Right.
it's good to clarify.
We did it on the nuisance ordinance and I
Yeah.
just remember.
All right, Councilmember Cargill.
Thank you, Mayor. Todd, can you explain to the public what this is all about?
So yeah, we can itemize this in terms of what each fund located herein and how that is affected. And so first amendment located herein, as you guys can see in Exhibit A, is a general fund, and we're accounting for TIF and lift reimbursements that will reflect actual amounts based on the activity that was performed in 2022 and that we anticipate to collect also in 2022. So you can see that reflected in amendment number 1, along with those associated Kramer overpass construction costs. And then along the same lines, as approved by council at a previous meeting, we are allocating $675,000 towards purchase of the building located at 23129 East Mission. And we are allocating an additional $300,000 for the purchase of 5 PD vehicles as approved by council in May. And then moving along, I'll touch on all 3 and then I'll answer any questions after that. Amendment number 2 is identifying costs associated with 336 underground utility fund that we have identified through the course of trailhead design and subsequent construction. We have the opportunity to underground overhead utilities at the northwest corner of that property, totaling $135,000. Amendment number 3 is a reporting mechanism updating to the 2022 salary schedule, increasing full-time police sergeant positions from 2 to 3.
Thank you.
Okay, any follow-up questions? I will point out, I know it sounded like there was a little confusion. Again, this is first read, so nothing we need to do, but just want to point out, sounded like there may have been some confusion at the last meeting about the balance of $980,000 from ARPA going to the public workyard, leaving nothing left in ARPA. I know some people had talked about holding some back for future nonprofit use. So if you guys want to think about that, there is an opportunity either now, if you guys want to discuss it, or at the next meeting to discuss any changes before it's made official that's going to come out of that budget. Because I know we had, and Kyle, did you have a chance to pull the numbers yet? What was from 2021 that was estimated by the nonprofits?
So that was going to be in the neighborhood of 200,000.
Okay. So that was the initial ask coming from the nonprofits that we helped the first time around for then 2021 replacements. So just to get that out there in case you guys wanted to reconsider anything, something you guys can think about over the next couple of weeks before the next one comes up. Go ahead, Kyle.
Good. And as an add-on based on our discussions tonight, I will, for inclusion for council consideration, include the $300,000 from Gulf Operations to have that reported on our most up-to-date budget.
Perfect. Councilmember Cargill.
For the second reading.
Yeah, correct.
So Kyle, for people who are looking at this on at home, for section 1, where it says corrected from 41.7 million to 32.9 million.
So,
Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, that was purely a reporting discrepancy, I would call it. So our appropriations were 32,927,487 instead of those including ending balances, which was the 41 million.
Gotcha.
So
Thanks.
purely reporting for auditor's sake.
Great. Any other further questions? All right, not seeing any. We'll move on to no emergency ordinances. Introduction of upcoming agenda items. Just move that. Our list is getting shorter. We need to, I know budgets are coming up in CFP, so it's kind of good to have a little bit shorter list of upcoming workshops. For September 20th, we have financial policy updates. Kyle, do you have what you need yet from the auditor? Okay, so that's a tentative still. We also have for the 20th, Councilmember Cargill had talked about additional community engagement on the budget. And then TBD, and we talked to this morning at the agenda review, we will have a capital facilities plan workshop. So that leaves the 20th pretty full. And then some more, we've got in October, quarterly budget update, update on the code of ethics, social media, and more budget workshops. Is there anything else anybody wants to put on the tentative list for now? Go ahead, Councilmember Solberg.
I'd just like to follow up on your August 8th email and
Yeah.
Chief Simmons and Lieutenant Morgan's additional information that we take a look at the rules governing the use of facilities and begin the discussion on enacting at least a couple of ordinances that are
With
enforceable
regards to
with
homeless
regard-
enforcement.
with regard to camping.
Camping. All right, we'll put that on the tentative list for now. And see how, once we get a little bit more collaboration, we'll come up with a date. Anybody else? Councilmember Kurtz.
When would it be appropriate to add something on, regarding the status of the driving range and where we're at in the design process and?
Lisa? I don't even know if we're even in any position yet this year to, I apologize, I can't. see It's on my screen.
Yeah, yeah, my apologies. We have, we need to go out for a request for, a request for qualifications for the designer. I hope to get that out. We are in just a crazy busy season. I would hope to get that out this fall so that we could bring a designer on board and get that out to bid by early next year.
So Lisa, would the intent be to have the designer walk through the process with the council and get ideas and feedback then? Or would it be beneficial to have a workshop with the council prior to that RFQ going out?
Yes.
We could do that, but I think that the challenge is that I think you need to hear from the structural engineer first, what needs to happen.
Okay.
What that needs to look like. We've had some conversations with Clear Risk and we have an understanding of what their expectation is. And there are some options associated with what it would look like before the bid. And that I think is the point at which you would want to have some conversations with the designer in terms of, all we're talking about at this point is the pools and the netting.
Yeah.
And addressing the pools and netting. There's no reconfiguration. There's nothing related to the driving range structure itself. All we're talking about is pools and netting. And so I think that to the extent that there are options before we go out to bid, that would be the appropriate time to come back to City Council for a workshop.
Okay, well, let's look at our calendar during the directors meeting tomorrow and see when we might be able to put a workshop on for that
Thank you.
problem. All right, any other wishes? Mayor Pro Tem.
Just wondering if we've heard anything on the library policy update.
I don't know if Jandy's still on to talk to that, because I know she and the board have been working on it.
I'm here.
Hi, Jandy.
Hi, we've been working on the library policy update since February. We are going through our final version of it at our meeting next week. Next Wednesday is when we'll be reading through our final draft on that.
Perfect. So again, let's put this on. We'll discuss tomorrow at the directors meeting and see when it'll be appropriate to have you guys give a summary of those changes. Does that work?
Yes, that sounds great.
All right. All right, anybody else?
I guess I have one more last item I'd like to bring up. It's not gonna be probably a very fun discussion, but not looking for a long discussion, just something to think about. I think comment earlier, the farmer's market is winding down here soon, next couple weeks. Next year is re-election year. So I would just ask that everybody maybe think about how we're going to engage that part of the equation with when pretty much everybody's on the ballot.
I'll do it every week. I'm just kidding.
You are on record for that commitment.
Rather than having that discussion the week before farmer's market.
Yeah.
opens.
Greatly appreciated. All right,
But I'd
That
like to
sounds
add
good.
That as a
we'll put that on
next
for
year.
early.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, sounds good. All right, where are we? We are back to citizen comments. I don't think we have anybody here, but we do have, oh, we do. I'm surprised, but your sheet's not yellow. How did that happen? All right, we do have time for citizen comments. We have one person here in person to do it. If we have anybody online who wants to speak, go ahead and send a note to Todd Henderson in chat while Brian Asmus, Director of Safety. What's your full title? Anyway,
It changes.
okay, yeah,
Anyway.
Director of Safety for Central Valley School District. So he's got actually a couple different things in addition to the school to discuss.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So Brian Asmus, 19502 East Klamath Avenue in Liberty Lake, and proud resident of the River District. So I'm here tonight in my official capacity as a fire commissioner, but Chief Soto already took care of all that stuff for me. So I also currently work as the Director of Safety and Security for Central Valley School District. So just as a quick reminder, so September 8th, first day of school. The reason you're aware of that, but the reason I want to bring that up is that last year when Ridgeline High School opened, the first couple of weeks of school, there was a large traffic issue with students entering on Country Vista. And if you remember last year, there was no senior class at Ridgeline High School. This year, they will have a senior class, so more drivers. So we are expecting a lot more traffic congestion, especially as the first couple of weeks of school until they get it figured out. So be patient, and then just be aware of, all the students that will be out and about on their bikes, walking to and from school. So just be mindful of that. Also, from a school district perspective, again, I know you passed the interlocal agreement for the school resource officer, so thank you for that. We have a great working relationship with our law enforcement partners, and it's a great program that the school district supports as well. And so thank you for having an officer dedicated to Ridgeline High School for our safety purposes. So I'm going to switch hats briefly. I'm also on the board of directors of the Hub Sports Center. And so just so that you know, coming up on Thursday, September 29th is the Hub All-Star Breakfast, which is one of the major fundraisers that they have. Several of you in the room have already RSVP'd for that event. But if you're interested, it's going to be a great program. Sandy Zimmerman is the guest speaker. Sandy Zimmerman is a Spokane native that is a American Ninja Warrior participant. And so anyway, so she's pretty dynamic and she'll be our guest speaker. So if you'd like to join us for that, again, that is on Thursday, the 29th, but you have to RSVP by September the 16th. It's from 7:30 to 8:45 at the Miraboo Park Hotel. And last is another hat that I wear. So I am the volunteer coordinator for the Moving Wall Project. And so that is, as you mentioned, 9/15 through 9/19. If you are wanting to volunteer, lots of volunteer opportunities for those days that it is here. Please reach out, contact me, and I will find a spot to put you to work. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
That was a lot of hats in 3 minutes.
I know,
Yeah.
15 seconds to spare there.
Yeah, pretty effective.
All right, okay. Todd, was there anybody who wanted to speak online? Okay, no public comment from our virtual audience. So we will adjourn into executive session. It shouldn't take real long. It will be council, lieutenant and chief and city administrator for that. So it's 9:02. Let's give us a couple minutes to get in there. So what do you need, chief? 5-10 minutes? You know, say 5? Okay. All right. So we will tentatively, we'll give a couple minutes to get in there. So we'll tentatively come back at 9:10 unless there's any extensions. And then there will be no action during the meeting or after. We'll just adjourn when we come back out. And Sean, we will call you from the conference room.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.